Brady, Fox News.
We need to bring law enforcement and communities closer together, not to drive them apart.
President Trump signing an order designed to encourage better police practices, in part by tying improvement to federal grants. He also wants a database to keep track of officers with a history of excessive force complaints, while still emphasizing his support for law enforcement, calling the vast majority of officers selfless public servants.
We must support the brave men and women in blue who police our streets and keep us safe.
The president also expressing hope for bipartisan work on reform in Congress. But Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer accuses Republicans of moving too slowly.
We didn't say do our bill immediately. We asked our Republican colleagues to commit to a debate on our bill before July 4th, within the next 4 weeks.
Republicans are working on bills in both chambers after the House passed a Democrats' version. The Fed chief warning again that the U.S. economy could have a long road back from the coronavirus pandemic.
There are parts of the economy that will struggle to return to their old ways of activity because they involve getting people together closely in large groups. And so it's going to take some time to rebuild confidence.
Jay Powell telling Congress a full recovery is unlikely until the public is confident coronavirus is contained. But Wall Street's been rallying after a stronger than expected report on retail sales for May, a record surge of nearly 18%. An hour to the close, the Dow's been up about 600 points. A major utility company just pleading guilty in California to killing 84 people in the wildfire that wiped out the town of Paradise in 2018. The CEO of PG&E entering the pleas and apologizing to victims' families while admitting their equipment started the fire. America is listening to Fox News.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
California's Attorney General so far resisting calls from two families to launch his own probe after two recent hanging deaths of black men. Federal investigators are now involved.
Family and friends of 24-year-old Robert Fuller are very skeptical he killed himself. He was found hanging from a tree in Palmdale in northern LA County with his backpack on. No chair was nearby. An LA County Sheriff's captain said the tree was very climbable and the rope was secured from the tree, not the ground. At first, the coroner said the death appeared consistent with suicide, but is deferring the cause of death and waiting on toxicology reports. The FBI says they will monitor this investigation as well as the circumstances surrounding the hanging of another black man in San Bernardino County. Malcolm Harsh was found hanging in a homeless encampment. Authorities are also waiting on toxicology tests there. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Virginia's governor says he will propose making Juneteenth an official state holiday. The day commemorates the end of slavery in the U.S., celebrated annually on June 19th, and also known as Emancipation Day and Freedom Day. Texas first made it a state holiday in 1980. Virginia was once home to the capital of the Confederacy. A new survey finds a lot of Americans are not in a happy place right now.
It finds just 1 in 7 Americans, 14%, saying they're very happy, down from 31% when the question was asked 2 years ago. It's by far an all-time low since the start of the General Socials Survey in 1972. It's conducted by the National Opinion Research Center at the University of Chicago. This new survey also finds people more pessimistic about the future, with 42% believing their children's standard of living will be better, another all-time low.
Fox's Chris Foster. The survey was done late last month as the coronavirus outbreak continues. Most of the interviews were finished before widespread protests over racism and police violence. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. 2 people are dead and 2 more injured after a shooting incident that occurred this morning in the Pleasant Valley area of Fort Dodge. The Fort Dodge Police Department was dispatched just before 5 a.m. this morning to the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest on reports of shots fired. Officers arrived and found a man who had been shot lying in the street unresponsive. The man was pronounced dead on the scene despite life-saving efforts. 2 women were shot in the incident as well. A short time after that, officers discovered a single-vehicle accident at the intersection of South 15th Street and 6th Avenue South. Upon investigation, they discovered the man had been shot and lost consciousness while driving. He also was pronounced dead at the scene. Police believe he was shot on the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest. In total, 4 people were shot. A 25-year-old male and a 47-year-old male have passed away. The 21-year-old woman in the incident is said to be in stable condition, and the 30-year-old woman was treated and released. Names of those involved have not been released as of this time. Police are still investigating the incident and trying to determine the involvement the 4 victims had in the incident or if they were bystanders. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Fort Dodge Police. A single-car accident Monday resulted in injuries for the driver. The accident occurred on South 15th Street here in Fort Dodge when Travis Davis was driving his SUV Monday afternoon and went off the road, striking a tree. Davis was transported by ambulance to Unity Point, Fort Dodge, to be treated for his injuries. In sports, the St. Edmund baseball team a winner last night, 3-1 over Humboldt. Starting pitcher Kel Colasia and reliever Emmanuel Perry teamed up to throw a no-hitter against the Wildcats. Colasia earned the win, striking out 11 along the way. Perry picked up the save and had a 2-run single. The Gales are back in action tonight on the road, taking on North Union for a 7:30 first pitch. On the softball side, St. Edmund fell to the second-ranked Humboldt Wildcats 11-0. Ellie Jacobson, the winning pitcher for Humboldt, allowing just 2 hits, striking out 11. She also was 3 for 4 from the plate with 3 RBIs. Humboldt junior Kendall Clark with a 2-run homer in the first inning. Elsewhere around the area, Southeast Valley a winner in softball, 14-0 over Pocahontas area. The top 10 ranked Pocahontas area baseball team a winner over Southeast Valley, 14-0. Algona baseball, a 4-2 win over Clarion Goldfield Dow. Cameron Rendoni got the win for Algona, going 5 2/3 innings, giving up just 2 runs on 1 hit and striking out 13. He also had 2 RBIs at the plate. Top 10 ranked Algona softball, a 12-0 win over Clarion Goldfield Dows. Webster City softball, a 10-3 winner over Hampton Dumont Cal. Softball on your radio tonight as the Fort Dodge Dodgers open up their season at Harlan Rogers, hosted Sioux City Heelan. The Dodgers come into the season number 1 in Class 5A in the preseason rankings for the first time in pro.
Yes. All right. How are you?
I'm real good. Hang on. It'll be about 90 seconds.
Sounds good.
Feel any extra pressure?
Even though we're ranked number 1, we always have to prove we're number 1, and you have to prove, you have to do stuff one step at a time to make sure you get to that certain spot. So we have pressure on us every day, but I wouldn't say it's more pressure.
Catch all the action of Dodger softball tonight in the season opener, a 7 p.m. first pitch on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly clear skies and quiet this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 90. Winds out of the south 10 to 20 miles per hour. Lows level off around 65. Tonight, clear skies. Sunny skies and calm. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 91. Chance for scattered storms Thursday and Friday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Right now, 87.
There's only 2 left. Only 2 2019 models left on the lot at Humboldt Motors, and they want to move them out now. Come on in and choose your deal on the 2019 Chevy Blazer or the 2019 GMC Acadia. Humboldt Motors is offering them at the dealer discount price. You'll also get 0% for 84 months or a big factory rebate. You'll be cruising through summer in a brand new SUV, and you'll save thousands when you shop Humboldt Motors today. Hurry in now before they're gone. Humboldt Motors, online at HumboldtGM.com. The General Store is now hiring. The General Store is accepting applications for a part-time team member. Job requirements include helping the store managers complete various tasks, including cashier duties, as well as accepting, sorting, and preparing donations from the public for the sales floor. If you have previous retail experience and can work varied shifts, including some evenings, holidays, and weekends, apply for the part-time team member position at onevision.org. One Vision Services is an equal opportunity employer.
Well, that's absolutely correct. And with us is Representative Ann Meyer. Hi, Ann.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm real good. Long time no see with this doggone virus. You know, I'll tell you, I'm going to have the year 2020 pull over to the side of the road and let me out because I'm just going to walk from here, you know. I've about had it with this year, and it's only half done. I don't suppose
Just gonna walk from here.
I'll just walk it for the rest of the way. Thank you very much. I don't need this ride anymore. Don't need to be on this train. So you and the rest of the legislators got the job done down in Des Moines.
We did. We adjourned Sunday at about 1:00.
So what stood out to you as far as the highlights of this session? What was accomplished? And I understand it was made so much more difficult by the coronavirus. Our lives have been so much more difficult because of the coronavirus. But what stood out to you as some of the highlights of this year's session?
Well, just this past week, we did 2 big, completely bipartisan bills. So we did an election reform, or we sent a clean bill over to the Senate on county seals, and they sent us back, I want to say, 35 pages of election reform, which nobody in the state, according to my emails, nobody was on board with, and I kind of agreed with them. In response to that, the House, Representative Kaufman and Representative Hunter from Des Moines, who's a Democrat, they worked together to draft a completely bipartisan election reform bill, and it passed. Everyone but Representative Hall and Representative Casino from Sioux City passed it. So it was
everybody but what? The representative from Sioux City.
There were 2 representatives from Sioux City that voted against it, and we didn't hear any reason in debate why they voted against it. It was just they voted it down. And it, like I said, it was Representative Hall and Representative Casino from Sioux City. So I'm not sure why, and I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on
No, we're not going to. We're not going to, but I'll email them. No, you can't. You can't speak for them. I understand that. You know, sometimes I may say something like, "What the hell they do that for?" But I know you don't have the answer to that question, so I'll email those guys.
Oh, good. And then we also, the same night, passed a justice reform bill, which put a few. It addressed the civil unrest we've had in the state and in the country.
Been a little noisy down there at the Capitol the last couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Yes, it has been, and I can understand, you know, I completely support people's right to peacefully protest without a doubt.
Absolutely.
But, you know, people didn't think they were being heard, and we, as a legislator, needed to hear them. So we drafted our leadership, again, both parties together, drafted a justice reform bill, and it was passed completely. There were no negative votes on that. It was all positive. So I'm really proud of a couple of those things that, you know, when we sit down and we work together, everyone's voice gets heard, and that's the way it should be.
That's the way it should be, absolutely. And, you would be the exception. I'm not just saying this to kiss up to you, Ann, but when the legislature is not in session, you make yourself available to the public quite often, and certainly while the legislative body is in session. There is a feeling more and more that all of us, I mean, the focus is on African-American people right now, that's fine, but there is a feeling that the legislators in Des Moines and certainly the representatives in Washington, D.C. are out of touch. They don't, they're in their little world, they're in a bubble of some kind, and they're not very responsive to the people. Now, this has nothing to do with the state of Iowa, but I would point to other powerful institutions like Major League Baseball. We have two competing interests there. It's a basic labor management dispute, but they're acting as if the fans don't exist. The NFL is acting like the fans don't exist. The political figures, the political class in Washington are acting as if the rest of us don't exist. It's very, very frustrating. It really is. But I will say one thing. I saw that picture of Dr. Meyer making pigs in a blanket, and I thought his technique was very good.
It really is, because I've had a couple people text me their techniques after that saying, oh, that sounded really good, and they were not near as pretty as Jim's.
Here, I don't know if Jim's interested in trying this. He rolls out the sheets and puts cheese on, of course, but he has more of a sheet dough, and I use crescent rolls, and I think I use
not the triangle part. He does two, and this might be a big tip. He uses 2 crescent rolls per dog.
He what now?
He uses 2 crescent rolls per dog, so it's a rectangle.
Oh wow. Okay.
And that's why it's so pretty.
Okay. No, I use buttered crescent rolls. As a matter of fact, I've been inspired by Jim Meyer to get into crescent rolls. And, I've had so much steak on the grill here, I'm actually sick of it already. So I actually whipped up some pigs in a blanket the other night, and they were great, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, Representative Ann Meyer is our guest at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. There was a feeling, I guess, down in Des Moines, and maybe you can't answer this question. I'm not in favor, by the way, of restoring felon voting rights, but apparently everybody else in the world is okay with it. We're the only state in the union that doesn't have a right of felons once they've paid their restitution to regain their voting rights. But it looked like Governor Reynolds had all but assured Democratic groups and activist groups that she would move a bill forward that guaranteed the restoration of felon voting rights. Now, the Republicans in the Senate, and maybe the House, defeated that move. So the activist groups and some Republicans said it wasn't needed for the legislature to act, as Governor Reynolds has the power to do that by executive order. Is that correct?
He does have the power to do that by executive order. You do just need to contact her through our website. There's a process you go through to request your rights back. Now, I will say the House passed the felon voter rights last year, and we passed it again this year. There are some restrictions. There are some conditions placed on that. You have, and I think the conditions were minimal. You have to repay your debt to the victim. So, and they're not even saying any of the other court costs or anything else. It's just do your restitution to the victim, which I think is very fair. Everyone in the House didn't feel that way, but we did pass it. This bill keeps getting hung up in the Senate. I feel like, Mike, okay, if you do something wrong and you pay for your crime through prison and you pay it back financially, are you never going to get your rights back ever again?
That doesn't sound good to me, but I'll tell you what, restitution is the biggest bunch of baloney I've heard in my life. Research and survey after survey has shown us that criminals who are sentenced to restitution, it doesn't make any difference how much, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, rarely pay it back, rarely pay a penny back. So that would be my concern with felons getting their rights back, voting rights
so
back.
Felons getting their rights back is in our bill was dependent on paying the restitution to the victim. So if you didn't do that, you wouldn't be getting your rights back.
So,
It was not dependent on paying court costs back or anything like that, but you did have to pay your restitution to the victim, and I thought that was fair.
Oh, I think that is fair if, in fact, it works that way. But there's been a lot of things happen, especially with this restitution business and asset forfeiture, that hasn't worked out the way that we wanted it to at all, especially the idea of felon restitution. I mean, we have people running around today didn't serve a day in jail for stealing thousands and thousands from their employer, whoever that was, with the promise of restitution. And if you look into it, they haven't paid a dime back. Not a dime. And I actually had a legal person tell me that, well, you know, that's that restitution business. When we say $400,000 in restitution, that's just to kind of let the people know that the criminal has been punished. But you know, we're really not looking for the restitution, and I was shocked by that, frankly. And I know it's not something that you can necessarily address right now, but the reason I'm telling you this is a lot of us are awfully suspicious of the restitution thing.
Mm-hmm. I understand that.
Okay, but you think that's carved in stone, that the restitution must be paid before a felon's voting rights are restored?
To the victim.
To the victim, yeah, sure.
But there are other costs that we are not including in that. So yes, to the victim, that is carved in stone in our bill.
When you say other costs, are you talking about legal fees or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, legal fees, court costs, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Representative Ann Meyer is our guest. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We still hope for that access center here, Ann. Was there any movement on that, or did you find out anything on that this year?
It's interesting you asked that because last week, Supervisor Mark Campbell and I and another supervisor from north of here, my HHS budget chair, Representative Fry, had a Zoom meeting with DHS and the new director of the regions, the mental health regions, and both the House and the Senate passed some language on the budget bill, its policy on the HHS bill, that says, number one, the counties in the region, the CSS region, we didn't have the right to do any audits on them. So we've got a region that has 22 counties in it, millions and millions of dollars, and really no accountability. So we put some language in the bill that said we can do an audit on that on the region, and then we also put language in there that a new region can be formed out of the CSS region. So I'm thinking that's what's going to happen, and then we'll be more focused on this section of the state rather than most of our resources going to Waterloo. I'm really proud of that. This is what I went to the Iowa House for, is to work on services for the Fort Dodge area, and I'm proud to say that we did get that passed. So it's to the governor's desk. So I'm thrilled about that. And I know that the supervisors in this area, when they form a new board and a new region, that it's going to be focused in this area.
Well, I have a news release here. Excuse me, Ann, I have to read this.
Okay.
The Fort Dodge Fire Rescue has learned that one of its firefighters has tested positive for COVID-19. The affected firefighter is in self-quarantine at home. Fort Dodge Fire Rescue has protocols, PPE, and decontamination processes in place to limit or prevent the spread of infection between patients and fire personnel. Fire personnel follow these protocols during all treatment and interaction with residents. Fort Dodge Fire Rescue is working internally with the Webster County Public Health Department to identify any individuals who may have come into contact with the affected fire department personnel and will contact these individuals directly as part of the contact tracing process. Fort Dodge Fire Rescue personnel are community heroes and have been on the front lines every day. That's according to Fort Dodge Fire Chief Steve Hergenreiter. We take these potential exposure seriously and have been preparing for such time one of our team tested positive. Our department is committed to preventing the spread of COVID-19 and protecting the citizens of Fort Dodge, Webster County, and surrounding communities. Well, that's not good news for the affected firefighter, but hopefully the firefighter's young and healthy. It's this COVID virus, and you're a medical person, as is your husband, of course. COVID virus seems to be brutal on older people like me.
Yeah.
It's, a huge percentage, 40-some% of the people who have died of the coronavirus are over 65 with pre-existing conditions, health conditions. And we just have a few minutes left, but we can hardly let this time go by without commenting on the upheaval in our country. That video in Minneapolis was horrific. I don't think burning down buildings is part of the solution. I don't think it's particularly understandable, but I certainly understand and support the need for reform. We absolutely must get rid of those chokeholds. I'm glad we don't use them in Fort Dodge, and we don't handcuff somebody and leave them on their stomach either. That's not Fort Dodge Police Department policy. But what can we do here to support the police and to enforce our laws while...
I want to emphasize that all of us in the legislature, we passed that justice reform bill, but we all know that almost every one of our police officers is a good person and doesn't engage in those tactics.
No.
We need to just, it's just like anything else. There's always one bad apple that gives everyone a bad name, just like legislators. But, there's always one person that gives the whole group a bad name, and nobody feels that it's the entire police force or it's rampant through there. But we did make some changes in the state that were agreed on 100% by everyone in the House, Senate, and went to the governor's desk the next day to be signed. So, in fact, this is some of the first legislation in the country that's passed on justice reform. So,
and what will this justice reform look like?
So you talked about chokeholds. Those are outlawed with this legislation unless the officer is being faced with a life or death situation. Also, there is more training in de-escalation techniques, and I don't have the file right in front of me, but here it is. What else? So the Attorney General, it allows the Attorney General to investigate a death caused by a law enforcement officer, prevents the whole use of a chokehold. This is a big thing. So if you're a police officer in another state and you've had several offenses, several black marks on your record because of violence or questionable interactions with citizens, we will be investigating that before you come to Iowa and join our police force. So we're not going to take bad apples from other states here.
That's good news.
Yeah. So I think that that's really important.
It surprised me. I've been, of course, how can you not pay attention? But there's been a couple of newspaper articles highlighting the fact that violent officers, sometimes fired by their departments, go someplace else and get a job as a police officer. I can't believe that. But
exactly.
I guess that's what happens. I'm glad that happened, Dan. I'm glad you guys took that step.
Yep.
All right. Representative Ann Meyer has been our guest. Well, congratulations on another successful session, such as it was, and hope to see you and Jim soon.
Thank you.
All
Take
right.
care.
You too. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 2:30. The news is next.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company helps you customize your home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Unlike things you paid for you didn't need, like that much-needed 125-inch flat-screen TV.
It's hurting my eyes a lot.
For your 100-square-foot bedroom.
My neck isn't so much stiff as it's completely stuck.
With Liberty Mutual, get customized home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Uh-oh, I'm seeing color splotches.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
We all need a little help sometimes.
Lifelong Links connects older Iowans who need assistance with living independently.
During these challenging times, you may find yourself in need of a little assistance in order to remain healthy and safe in your home. Lifelong Links from the Iowa Department on Aging will connect you to available resources such as food, meals, personal care, or just someone to talk with.
Please call 866-468-7887 and you will receive a supportive response to help navigate these uncertain times together.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. 2 people are dead and 2 more injured after a shooting incident that occurred this morning in the Pleasant Valley area of Fort Dodge. The Fort Dodge Police Department was dispatched just before 5 a.m. this morning to the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest on reports of shots fired. Officers arrived and found a man who had been shot lying in the street unresponsive. The man was pronounced dead on the scene despite life-saving efforts. 2 women were shot in the incident as well. A short time after that, officers discovered a single-vehicle accident at the intersection of South 15th Street and 6th Avenue South. Upon investigation, they discovered the man had been shot and lost consciousness while driving. He also was pronounced dead at the scene. Police believe he was shot on the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest. In total, 4 people were shot. A 25-year-old male and a 47-year-old male have passed away. The 21-year-old woman in the incident is said to be in stable condition, and the 30-year-old woman was treated and released. Names of those involved have not been released as of this time. Police are still investigating the incident and trying to determine the involvement the 4 victims had in the incident or if they were bystanders. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Fort Dodge Police. A single-car accident Monday resulted in injuries for the driver. The accident occurred on South 15th Street here in Fort Dodge when Travis Davis was driving his SUV Monday afternoon and went off the road, striking a tree. Davis was transported by ambulance to Unity Point, Fort Dodge, to be treated for his injuries. In sports, the St. Edmund baseball team a winner last night, 3-1 over Humboldt. Starting pitcher Cal Colasia and reliever Emmanuel Perry teamed up to throw a no-hitter against the Wildcats. Colasia earned the win, striking out 11 along the way. Perry picked up the save and had a 2-run single. The Gales are back in action tonight on the road, taking on North Union for a 7:30. Around the area, Southeast Valley a winner in softball, 14-0 over Pocahontas area. The top 10 ranked Pocahontas area baseball team a winner over Southeast Valley, 14-0. Algona baseball a 4-2 win over Clarion Goldfield Dow. Cameron Rendoni got the win for Algona, going 5 2/3 innings, giving up just 2 runs on 1 hit and striking out 13. He also had 2 RBIs at the plate. Top 10 ranked Algona softball, a 12-0 win over Clarion Goldfield Downs. Webster City softball, a 10-3 winner over Hampton Dumont Cal. Softball on your radio tonight as the Fort Dodge Dodgers open up their season at Harlan Rogers, hosted Sioux City Heelan. The Dodgers come into the season number 1 in Class 5A in the preseason rankings for the first time in program history. Coach Andy Adams says they've embraced that number 1 ranking.
Having that expectation of being number 1, and we embrace it. We don't see it as, no. We don't see it that way at all. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep practicing to get to where we need to be.
Dodgers senior first baseman Logan Snetzer says even though they're ranked number 1, she doesn't feel any extra pressure.
Even though we're ranked number one, we always have to prove we're number one. And you have to prove, like, you have to do stuff one step at a time to make sure you get to that certain spot. So and we have pressure on us every day, but I wouldn't say it's more pressure.
Catch all the action of Dodger softball tonight in the season opener, a 7 p.m. first pitch on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge 235. First of all, in the weather, a beautiful but hot day. It's sunny with a high around 87. We should have a steady temperature of 87 the rest of this afternoon. Going to be windy, of course. Overnight clear with a low of 65. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 91 and windy. Mostly clear overnight with a low of 68. Thursday, there's a good chance of a thunderstorm, of course, after it gets hot like that. We're going to have rain. Sunny on Thursday with a high of 90. Friday, there's a good chance of a thunderstorm, mostly cloudy with a high of 82. Saturday, chance of a shower and thunderstorm, mostly cloudy with a high of 80. Sunday, a chance of rain, mostly sunny with a high of 82. On Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 82. Right now, 87 degrees. At AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Arvin Sorensen of Fort Dodge has died at the age of 66. He died Monday at the Paula J. Baber Hospice Home. Arvin Sorensen, 66, of Fort Dodge, passed away yesterday. Carol Carpenter of Fort Dodge died last Saturday at the Friendship Haven Simpson Healthcare Center in Fort Dodge. A graveside service for Carol Carpenter will be held at a later date at Oak Grove Cemetery south of Lehigh. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 237 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 87 degrees. Steve Peterson of the Farm Bureau is next.
Here's a look at how the markets closed yesterday. July corn down a quarter penny at $3.29. September up a half a cent at $3.34 1/4. December corn up 1 1/4 at $3.42 3/4. March up 3/4 at $3.54. July soybeans down 2 cents at $8.67. August down 2 at $8.68. September down 2 at $8.67 1/2. And November down 3 cents at $8.73. July wheat closed down 8 3/4 at $4.96. Soybean meal down 50 cents a ton at $2.87.90. June live cattle up 25 cents at $96.32. August up 77 at $96.77. August feeder cattle up 170 at $132.87. September up 187 at $134.45. July lean hogs down 262 at $49.65. August down 2 1/4 at $53.02. October down 150 at $51.72. I'm Dwayne Murley.
AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. This portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau.
We're the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we support farm families. We're a voice on local, state, and national issues. We're also committed to making rural Iowa a better place to live and keeping Iowa farm families on the farm.
That's right. I'm the Doctor of Truth. With me now from the Webster County Farm Bureau is Steve Peterson. How are you, Steve?
Good. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing all right. Listen, I think we know each other well enough now. Instead of Doctor of Truth, you can just call me the Truth. I think that's that's fine. You know, I just did a 20-minute interview with Representative Ann Meyer, who's a great person, and I have to admit, I can't believe I did this. I didn't ask her about farm at all. Any farm bills advanced at all, or anything to do with the Farm Bureau, pork producers, or anything. So I guess I'll start off asking you, what happened at the state legislative session that the Farm Bureau was involved in?
Okay, well, I mean, it was an unusual session, I guess, with the COVID coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Things, I guess, that were important to the Farm Bureau. was on the budget, of course. They did keep things in check there. There was some increasing in funding in the K through 12 education. The tax credits, like that are on property taxes, those were all held in place. That would be like your family farm tax credit, your homestead tax credits. And those items are very important to us across the state. The one thing that did not get the attention that I guess we were hoping to, and that had to do with the mental health funding. I'm sure that's going to be a discussion to have in the future. I think it's, the financial side of mental health is, it's always going to be a factor. And I know Farm Bureau will strenuously probably push. What we'd like to see is to shift the mental health funding off of property taxes and put it more into the general fund of the state. It's just kind of I think Iowa was one of only 2 states in the country that tries to fund mental health that way. And with all the challenges and dynamics, I think tying it to property tax, once everyone kind of understands that, would pretty much, I think, could agree that that's probably not the best funding source for mental health, especially if we need to grow the services or come up, because the property tax is a pretty rigid funding source. So that did not get talked about. There was all the water quality funding stuff, or water quality incentives. Those were all fully funded. Conservation cost share programs, the ag drainage well closure programs were funded. The one thing that it was kind of a unique thing, because the Farm Bureau didn't really come with a specific policy, but we wanted the legislators to look at coming up with some mechanisms to incentivize vet students in the state of Iowa to stay in the state of Iowa, of course, and go into the field of, I believe the correct term is a large meat animal, because that seems to be a concern going forward, that we're getting an aging veterinary pool, and we need to do some incentives. And they came up with, I believe, some student loan repayment programs, and some type of incentives like that. So that was a big thing that I know that we pushed, but we really didn't push in any general, explicit language. Some other things that happened that really weren't pushed by us, but we of course we like them, is they strengthened the ag exemptions in county zoning, or at least clarified some of the language, and they gave some little bit of
Steve? Uh-oh. I think we lost Steve. Well, that's a bummer. We'll have to get him back. Yeah, this is... Oh, there. Are you back? Okay.
I'm here.
All right.
Whatever that noise was.
Yeah, I didn't hear the noise. Your voice just disappeared, so who knows?
Oh, it was a horrific noise.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But to go on, they gave some in oversized loads when hauling, like hay and straw and stover. And then they did do some language to modernize the fuel taxes in Iowa for renewable fuels. And then one thing that I guess I wasn't aware of, and I know this is something that Farm Bureau talks about a lot when we have our meetings, not really a concern in this part of the state. They did give the Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship a little bit of latitude in coming up with some regulations on feral hogs. That is kind of, I guess, laying the groundwork. Prior to COVID, a lot of what we talked about was the African swine fever, and that's still a problem over in Asia.
Oh yeah,
and there's still a threat that could come into this country. And one of the problems is if that disease gets into basically a non-controlled hog herd. So control of basically wild hogs kind of it's not a very big thing right now, but it definitely could be.
Yeah. We have wild hogs in Iowa?
We do. We actually do.
Didn't know that.
I believe in Missouri they're getting more popular. I know down in Texas, Oklahoma, they're horrific.
Well, I tell you, I lived in North Carolina for a couple of years in the radio business. I was the boss of the beach at Surf 106 Radio, if you believe a guy from Algona, Iowa, was actually on the East Coast being the boss of the beach. But anyway, a real estate guy I knew and some others said, come on, we're going to go on a wild boar hunt. So I thought, sure, I'm cool. I shot pheasants and things back home. So off we go into the swamp area. And we weren't in there very long before a wild boar with tusks and everything charged, snarling like a beast. And the guy I was with, the real estate agent, just had a high-powered rifle and shot him. And nobody thought anything about it. But that was my last wild boar hunt. If they're going to charge you like that, I think I'll just try to keep it to pheasants, and that was it. But
right. No, wild boar can be very very destructive. And both threat to human life and definitely crops and like any hog herd, they can multiply and become devastating to a local economy. So definitely something and especially in the disease control thing. If a herd of wild animals would get the disease, definitely we need some kind of measures or some language that we can control that or eradicate that issue if it comes up.
Steve Peterson's our guest. He's a former president of the Webster County Farm Bureau. Let's go. You mentioned quite a few things there, Steve. Let's walk it back here just a little bit. Now, you mentioned capping wells, and I heard a little rumbling about that. What did the state have to get involved there, or were you looking for some sort? Was the Farm Bureau and other groups looking for state assistance in capping these wells, or where are we on that?
Yeah, what they are is they're termed ag drainage wells, and they are primarily in a region north of Fort Dodge. So you get into Humboldt, Kossuth, maybe some in Wright, in that kind of section. These were a practice that was done in, I believe the late 1800s or very early 1900s. And what they did, they just basically bored a well down into the aquifer, and then they drained their farmland directly into the aquifer. Environmentally, these are horrific, actually.
It sounds like it.
I mean, they're not a good thing, and they're all accounted for, and the DNR has got locations in all these wells. Well, of course, over the years, the most inexpensive ones have all been capped and are not being used. I want to say this, we're down. The number fluctuates, but I bet we're down under 40 of them left. And of course, a lot of these are the most expensive. So every year we try to get some money appropriated to assist in closing some of these wells. And it's a time-consuming thing. Someday, hopefully, it's not like they're reappearing. So it's a good place, especially when the state has any surplus money, because it's good one-time expenditure. But it's just an ongoing thing, and it's very confined, basically to this north central Iowa region. So to get support down at the State House, identifying that this is not a good practice, and in trying to eliminate these things, is a big step for all of Iowa, all the legislators to come together. I'm sure most of them have never seen them.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's an education for any new legislator that comes in that's not from this area to learn about those. So, it's my dad was on Farm Bureau 30, 40 years ago. They were talking about it then. We're definitely making some ground on this, but these last remaining ones, of course, are the most expensive and the most difficult to do.
Yeah, and those old ag wells aren't any surprise to me. Of course, I still remember when there were 4 farms on each section of ground. Now that's been a long time ago, but as I grew up, I knew they started tearing some of these old farmhouses down, and in the last 25 years, there's really been a push to. Well, the farms got bigger, and these old farm places had a bunch of rickety buildings on, so they call in a bulldozer and knock the whole thing down. Almost every weather forecast I've been giving in the summer for several years is windy. It's windy, windy, windy. And I'm just wondering, by tearing down all those farm places, especially up north, and bulldozing the groves, if we haven't, if we just haven't created a wind tunnel from Minnesota, Missouri. Because I don't remember it being this windy when I was a younger man.
Well, I think the wind has always been, plentiful here in the Midwest. A lot of farms used to have, you don't see many working now, windmills that ran their pumps. And, they weren't just decorations. I think if you see them now, a lot of them are decorative, but they were actually working pieces of machinery back in the day. And now, of course, the area through Iowa here, and I think there's an area in Kansas that's very defined to these sustainable winds, is why we're seeing a growth in the wind energy here.
Well, that could be. I mean, supposedly we're like, as far as wind energy potential, we're 3rd or 4th in the entire country, and that's after Montana and Texas, much bigger states. And, of course, the wind just blows in both those states as well. Texas is a huge place.
Yes.
But anyway, thank God for wind energy. Was there anything done down at the legislative body this year for ethanol or not?
They did not specific. Well, no, I take that back. The governor signed, I believe, a requirement for state vehicles that use diesel. They mandated, a bioblend there. That was an executive order, I believe, signed by her. And then they have done some modernization of the fuel tax and, incentives for using biofuels in Iowa, which, some of those tax deals need to be tweaked, as time moves on. But no, large-scale shifts of, requiring, every gallon in the state to use it or anything like that. So.
All right, Steve Peterson's our guest at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. This portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. How's the crops out at your place looking right now? Has the wind been a factor as far as the crop growth so far?
The wind's really not been a big deal. It's probably affected more of people's lack of ability to spray right now, because the wind is definitely keeping a lot of the sprayers parked. So that's probably been the biggest thing right now. But the crops are definitely enjoying the sunshine and the heat.
And I see we're still in the 60s overnight, so that's good news. For the corn.
That's good.
For the corn.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't suppose we're going to, the farmers used to say, it's going to be a good year. We're going to be knee-high by the 4th of July. I don't think we're going to have any problem meeting that goal this year, are we? We got a good start, and we should be more than knee-high by the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah, we're probably getting close to waist-high right now.
Oh, really?
We did, have a really good start, but the thing that held us back just a little bit, we kind of had that, after our great planting conditions, we did go in there about a 2-week period where, we had the frost and we just really didn't do a lot of growing, even though the seeds were in the ground. So we're kind of, hanging in there, whatever normal is anymore. But, I'm expecting the crops they're all looking really good right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Is there, how's the grain prices? And what's, I said this to Ann last hour. As far as a year 2020 is concerned, it can just let me out right here. Pull over the side of the road, let me out, and I'll just walk back to town because I've had it. So With all the things going on in the world, where are we at with grain prices?
Corn, we're in that $3 to $3.15 range right now for cash price. Soybeans, they're quite a bit lower. I mean, the corn is seeing some light. I was sweeping out a bin here this morning, and there was a line at the ethanol plant. So we're starting to see some life in there. I did notice my ethanol plant is now, they have bids now into the fall, which they were just buying, the basically direct this month only. So you can see some relaxing and some progress being made in that industry, which is very good. And right now we're in kind of a holding pattern with weather. If these rains don't persist right now, I think we will probably see a little spike in the market. That's kind of what's being anticipated, I think, right now.
Okay. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Do you have any soybeans? You've told me 2-3 times, and I keep forgetting. Do you have any soybeans?
Oh, yeah. I'm actually, about 50-50.
Oh, you are? Okay. All right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And the crop, both corn and soybeans, looks pretty good.
They do, for this point. Like I said, my crops could use a drink, a little bit of rain this weekend, but everything's looking good right now. So.
Well, there's a little rain forecast for the coming week, and it should be okay. But I do wonder, all the things I've read, you're the expert in this field. By the time we get to fall, what do you think? Is there going to be a good price on the crop or not?
They're estimating about a little over a 3 billion bushel carryout, which that's basically the extra.
Right.
It's going to be hard to have a good price. I mean, it really is, especially we're oversupplied, and we need to be firing on all cylinders with the biofuels, with the exports, with the animal consumption. We need everything to use this crop. It's going to be probably a big crop.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it across the Midwest. So that's good and it's bad both.
Well, low prices, about the only thing that cures that is great yields.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, big yields will just flood the market and make lower prices. So it's a kind of an ever-evolving cycle.
Steve Peterson, is our guest in this portion of the program, brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Steve will be with us right after the news. Come on back, Steve.
Okay.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Summer gifting is going on right now at Merle Norman. When you purchase 2 or more products, you'll receive a trial size set of our summer beauty picks for eyes. And if you're ready for a new look, check out our Fantasy color collection before it sells out. Available now at Merle Norman, located inside Mary Kay's Gifts and Home Decor, 1108 Central Avenue, downtown Fort Dodge.
Your gift is free with the purchase of 2 or more Merle Norman cosmetic products. Cosmetic accessories not included. Offer available now while supplies last at participating Merle Norman Cosmetic Studios. Limit 1 per customer. They reserve the right to substitute individual components.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. And MLS number 3030.
Protect and nourish in one pass with Pro Aqua Pulse. Pro Aqua Pulse Foliar Nutrition is uniquely formulated with high-quality ingredients to promote healthier plants and higher yields. In field trials, Pro Aqua Pulse delivered an average corn yield increase of 2.8% and an average soybean yield increase of 7.3% compared with the grower's standard practice alone. Pro Aqua Pulse is compatible and approved for use with many crop protection chemistries in the tank. Protect and nourish in one pass. You can expect a good return on your investment. Visit compasscrops.com for more information.
All right, thanks for listening. I'm Michael Devine. We'll be back right after the news with Steve Peterson of the Farm Bureau. A little bit later on, we'll talk with Jim Kirsten of Iowa Central, and of course, we'll talk with City Manager what is his name? Oh yeah, David Ferrick. We'll talk with David Ferrick. It's 3:00.
Straight talk on life and money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Both sides want reform. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. But Congress may be heading for some heated debate on how to get there after weeks of widespread protests spurred by the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says a reform bill passed by the House is going nowhere in the Senate.
It's basically typical Democratic overreach to try to control everything in Washington. We have no interest in that.
As Minority Leader Chuck Schumer chastises Republicans for not agreeing to act quickly.
With 4 weeks to go in this current session, we have asked Leader McConnell to commit to a vote on the Justice and Policing Act before July 4th.
The president taking action.
Addressing the hot-button issue of police brutality, President Trump signing an executive order that would provide incentives for police departments to increase training about the use of force and strengthen a national database to track police misconduct.
Nobody needs a strong, trustworthy police force more than those who live in distressed areas, and nobody is more opposed to the small number of bad police officers, and you have them.
The president saying in the Rose Garden that reducing crime and raising standards are not mutually exclusive.
Fox's John Decker in Washington. Wall Street focusing on the positive, including a record surge for retail sales in May, even as the Fed chief tells Congress significant uncertainty remains about the timing and strength of an economic recovery.
And we would expect to see, large numbers of people during this period coming back to work during this second period of the call it the bounce back or the beginning of the recovery.
But until Americans feel confident about coronavirus containment, Jay Powell calls a full recovery unlikely. The Dow, though, has been up about 2% for much of the day, getting back over 26K. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
The man accused of killing a sheriff's deputy in Northern California during an ambush is now charged with killing a federal officer in Oakland days earlier.
Northern California U.S. Attorney David Anderson announced charges against Stephen Carrillo, accusing him of murdering Federal Protective Services officer David Underwood and injuring his partner, shooting them from his van. But Anderson said Robert Justice is also charged with aiding and abetting for driving the van Carrillo opened fire from. Anderson says Carrillo had a patch and had written slogans in his own blood that indicate he's part of what is called the Boogaloo movement.
The Boogaloo term is used by extremists to reference a violent uprising or impending civil war.
Carrillo's already in custody for ambushing 2 Santa Cruz County deputies, killing Sergeant Damon Gutzwiller. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A bipartisan bill just unveiled to reform the way aircraft are certified in the U.S. This stems from the grounding of Boeing's MAX jets after 2 deadly crashes. Top Republicans and Democrats on the Senate Commerce Committee reaching agreement on an aviation safety proposal that would revise certification rules. A country superstar's name coming up in the push to replace Confederate monuments in Tennessee.
If thousands of people have their way, they'll be seeing a lot more of country music legend Dolly Parton.
Tennessee,
A petition looking to replace controversial statues and Confederacy monuments across the state with the likeness of the East Tennessee native. The Change.org petition asking the Tennessee governor and state house for the swap, making the argument the 74-year-old has worked her entire life to, quote, bring us closer together, pointing out her philanthropic contributions, including the Dollywood Foundation that's given books to millions of kids and millions of dollars to organizations like the Red Cross.
Fox's Lillian Wu. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. 2 people are dead and 2 more injured after a shooting incident that occurred this morning in the Pleasant Valley area of Fort Dodge. The Fort Dodge Police Department was dispatched just before 5 a.m. this morning to the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest on reports of shots fired. Officers arrived and found a man who had been shot lying in the street unresponsive. The man was pronounced dead on the scene despite life-saving efforts. 2 women were shot in the incident as well. A short time after that, officers discovered a single-vehicle accident at the intersection of South 15th Street and 6th Avenue South. Upon investigation, they discovered the man had been shot and lost consciousness while driving. He also was pronounced dead at the scene. Police believe he was shot on the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest. In total, 4 people were shot. A 25-year-old male and a 47-year-old male have passed away. The 21-year-old woman in the incident is said to be in stable condition, and the 30-year-old woman was treated and released. Names of those involved have not been released as of this time. Police are still investigating the incident and trying to determine the involvement the 4 victims had in the incident or if they were bystanders. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Fort Dodge Police. A single-car accident Monday resulted in injuries for the driver. The accident occurred on South 15th Street here in Fort Dodge when Travis Davis was driving his SUV Monday afternoon and went off the road, striking a tree. Davis was transported by ambulance to Unity Point, Fort Dodge, to be treated for his injuries. In sports, the St. Edmund baseball team a winner last night, 3-1 over Humboldt. Starting pitcher Cal Colasia and reliever Emmanuel Perry teamed up to throw a no-hitter against the Wildcats. Colasia earned the win, striking out 11 along the way. Perry picked up the save and had a 2-run single. The Gales are back in action tonight on the road, taking on North Union for a 7:30 first pitch. On the softball side, St. Edmund fell to the second-ranked Humboldt Wildcats 11-0. Ellie Jacobson, the winning pitcher for Humboldt, allowing just 2 hits, striking out 11. She also was 3 for 4 from the plate with 3 RBIs. Humboldt junior Kendall Clark with a 2-run homer in the first inning. Elsewhere around the area, Southeast Valley a winner in softball, 14-0 over Pocahontas area. The top 10 ranked Pocahontas area baseball team a winner over Southeast Valley, 14-0. Algona baseball, a 4-2 win over Clarion Goldfield Dow. Cameron Rendoni got the win for Algona, going 5 2/3 innings, giving up just 2 runs on 1 hit and striking out 13. He also had 2 RBIs at the plate. Top 10 ranked Algona softball, a 12-0 win over Clarion Goldfield Dows. Webster City softball, a 10-3 winner over Hampton Dumont Cal. Softball on your radio tonight as the Fort Dodge Dodgers open up their season at Harlan Rogers, hosted Sioux City Heelan. The Dodgers come into the season number 1 in Class 5A in the preseason rankings for the first time in program history. Coach Andy Adams says they've embraced that number 1 ranking.
Having that expectation of being number 1, and we embrace it. We don't see it as, no. We don't see it that way at all. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep practicing to get to where we need to be.
Dodgers senior first baseman Logan Snetzer says even though they're ranked number 1, she doesn't feel any extra pressure.
Even though we're ranked number 1, we always have to prove we're number 1, and you have to prove, you have to do stuff one step at a time to make sure you get to that certain spot. So we have pressure on us every day, but I wouldn't say it's more pressure.
Catch all the action of Dodger softball tonight in the season opener, a 7 p.m. first pitch on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly clear skies and quiet this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 90. Winds out of the south 10 to 20 miles per hour. Lows level off around 65. Tonight, clear skies. Sunny skies and calm. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 91. Chance for scattered storms Thursday and Friday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 88.
We stand for people, progress and pride.
We're the Iowa Farm Bureau, and we support farm families. We're a voice on local, state, and national issues. We're also committed to making rural Iowa a better place to live and keeping Iowa farm families on the farm.
People, progress and pride, it's true. Iowa Farm Bureau's helping you.
More choices, more money. Bayer Plus Rewards is a new kind of rewards program, one that lets you call the shots. Choose from our broad portfolio of high-performance products. Earn more money on the eligible products that are right for your farm. Use our new portal to see your purchases, track your rewards, and decide how you want to use them. That's how we're putting more control in your hands. That's the plus. Sign in and earn big with Bayer Plus Rewards. Visit mybayerplus.com to sign up today. See program terms and conditions for full details.
Daniel Pharmacy knows it doesn't matter what's going on in the world. The sun will still come up, the sun will still go down, and people will still need their medications. So Daniel's is offering curbside pickup. Call or use their mobile app for script refills. Then head on down and park in one of their specially marked spots on 12th Street. Give them a call when you get there and they'll bring your prescription out to you. They're also doing no-contact delivery. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years on Central Avenue, Fort Dodge.
That's right. This portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Joining us now is a past president of the Webster County Farm Bureau, Steve Peterson from beautiful downtown Slifer. So welcome back to the program, Steve.
Thanks, Mike.
Nothing much has changed in the last 10 minutes since I spoke to you. So
I did get a text. I got some information.
Oh, okay.
We are down around 10 or less on the ag drainage wells.
10 or less, really?
Yep. So we have made substantial headway on that. So, but of course these last ones are the last ones for a reason. They're not the easy ones.
Okay. All right.
But that is good news that we're the end is in sight.
Well, that's one way of life fading away, giving away to the future, I guess. That's all that is. But we talked a little bit about this dicamba last week, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I've called up the Farm Bureau site to check out what's going on here. By the way, dicamba's, if I'm pronouncing it right, it's a herbicide. And the Environmental Protection Agency has given the go-ahead, I guess, to use existing supplies. What was the deal with that again? Why was there such a big deal about this herbicide?
Well, what there was is there was some activists, environmentalists, for whatever reason, they challenged the label or the EPA offering this label in the Ninth Circuit out in California.
Right.
Very liberal court.
Yeah.
Actually, today, the EPA's deadline is today. The court in California is making the EPA justify their reason. And what the EPA came out and said after this ruling was that basically farmers and retailers could use their existing stocks. They couldn't buy anything new, but you could use what you have. And that decision is now being challenged. So this little storyline's not over yet. And, we're just going to patiently wait and see.
Well, it's not a surprise the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals made this decision. They're just a bunch of flakes, and that's all there is to it. I mean, there's been attempts to break up the Ninth Circuit, which is a huge Court of Appeals jurisdiction. It covers most of the western states, all the coastal states. but they have a reputation for being the most overturned court of appeals in the nation. They're overturned regularly by the Supreme Court. What was the activist position? What were they complaining about?
They didn't agree with the EPA basically registering this chemical for the crop. Now, this chemical has been around for almost 60 years. It just, in the last few years, there's basically been trait packages developed by the seed companies to apply this chemistry once again and make it safe for soybeans and cotton and things like that.
Right.
So it's kind of, and it came out with a few new formulations of it, which are less volatile and less likely to drift. They're only challenging these new formulations.
Okay. All right.
So it's an ongoing deal, but in the ag side of things, we're very cautious now of basically what can be said out of the Ninth Circuit. This probably won't be the last thing that they meddle in.
Well, no, it won't. I mean, I've never been in favor of the court asserting jurisdiction in practically every aspect of our lives, and this is just another example. Steve Peterson is our guest. He's with the Webster County Farm Bureau. Of course, as long as I'm asking you what's wrong with some of the farmers' opponents, it always seems when you go down to Des Moines or talk to somebody from Des Moines, and they're Democrats. They're always going to say that the Farm Bureau gets their way, and the Farm Bureau is always the bad guy. Now, I've looked for proof of that assertion, and I haven't found anything. What in the world is these people's problem? It's usually coming out of the, what is that called, that group, the Iowa CCI or whatever. What is their problem with the Farm Bureau?
Well, I think, Farm Bureau's strength is that our policy is developed. It's not based on a Republican or Democrat view. It's based on our members' views.
Right.
And it's a collective process that's very democratic in its own nature of how we develop policies and implement those as far as talking to our legislators and how we present ourselves. So, our strength is in our process.
Sure.
And again, it's not designed to be a, Republican or a Democrat or whatever. It's the policies are face value.
Well, I haven't found any proof that the Farm Bureau is conservative or liberal. Really. I mean, as you say, the Farm Bureau seems to pursue policies favorable to farmers. Well, they're a lobbying group, for God's sake. Who are they supposed to represent? I don't get it.
We stay in our lane. You don't see the Farm Bureau getting into, say, abortion or the stuff like that. We definitely stay in our lane that pertains to agriculture. And we don't go very off on there. And again, the policies are pure because they are actually developed by our members across the state and across the country. And we do the same format in Iowa as they do in Texas, and every state is doing this effort, and we do it at a national level also. So I think it's very respected. We're always well received when we talk to our legislators. We try to come with our facts and our positions and why, and also a lot of us can put these policies into experiences on our own farm. So that's the most powerful way to talk to people about it, when you can put it into your own operation and experience. So there's always going to be somebody, and what we have found too, even down at the Iowa State House, if we're not down there talking about our policies, there's somebody else down there talking about ours for us.
That's right.
And that's generally not a good thing. So
no, it isn't.
That's why I think for depending on what side you're on, the Farm Bureau is in some sense, it's revered at the highest level for its actions and how it does things. And if you're an opponent of it, you're fearful of it.
Yeah, I can be as nostalgic as anybody, but I'm not ready to go back to outhouses, and I'm not going to go back to farming with horses, I don't think, with a two-bottom plow or whatever they had 100 years ago. I don't know. Sure. But it seems like when you talk with an environmentalist very long, that's the kind of world that they want. Or
again, I'm still of the opinion if people would talk, I think there is more in common than they think, and it's when you get people shouting and holding firm to a specific agenda, it seems like that's when nothing gets done. So
nothing will ever get done when people are yelling at each other. I mean, that's the word. You are 100% correct, and I hope all the yelling. I hope we all get in touch with that emotion again with all the yelling that's been going on in the country. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Our guest is Steve Peterson, and this portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau. Now, we just talked about staying out of politics, but I have to ask you, let me ask it this way. Well, let me ask it this way. What will the Farm Bureau at the state and national level look for from farm policy in Washington, D.C.?
Well, a lot of it's the same as the state level. I know priorities are the biofuels, and the RFS is, the RFS is going to come to, I don't know if a sunset is the correct terminology for it, but the RFS is, I believe in 2022, is going to be not what was written on paper as far as the volumes. It's going to be decided by, I believe, the director of the EPA, the Energy Secretary, and the Secretary of Agriculture. So those three people then will start formulating the supply and the numbers that we've been relying off of a piece of legislation that was passed, 10 years ago.
Sure.
So that's going to be that could be drastically different one way or the other.
It's going to be my pleasure to speak with Senator Joni Ernst and Senator Chuck Grassley this week. Is there anything you want me to ask them? What their vision of the RFS is once we, kind of turn that page. It's something a lot of people aren't talking about, but it's going to become very near and dear to the farm economy here in the Midwest. Oh, without a doubt. And Senator Ernst is in a tough race. And if she can do something about ethanol, and like it or not, ethanol can improve all our lives one way or the other. If she can do something about the renewable fuel standard and ethanol, she'll be back in Washington. If she can't, I don't know. I don't decide those things all by myself.
Another thing to do with the RFS is the RIN waivers. It sure seems that the EPA director, he seems to do about everything but protect the environment.
Yeah.
Because he seems very pro, Petroleum Institute. He's kind of contradictive to his position. So, that's a kind of a contentious position, I think, that we've had, even in the last administration. And definitely, I believe this is our second one in the current administration. So, the RIN waivers has kind of been a thorn in our side. We've won some court cases saying that those were illegal, but yet we kind of on the shoes on the other foot, like the dicamba, the EPA isn't complying with those court decisions. So, we kind of got both things going here in two extremely different circumstances where the EPA is not complying with a court decision, and we'll see how that plays out.
That's a little strange when we have a government agency, a federal agency that's not complying with a court order like that. And it does seem, as somebody really not involved in farming, but living in a farm state pretty much my whole life, that Under this administration, we seem to find that the oil industry is a favored group as far as the Trump administration is concerned. I know President Trump is popular in Iowa. The last I heard, he was leading in the polls over Joe Biden. But we certainly need to see some better farm policy regarding, again, the renewable fuels and RIN numbers and the whole thing. But Steve Peters is our guest at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, I'll certainly ask Senator Ernst about some of the farm policy. I guess she was over in Calhoun County, got roughed up a couple of weeks ago, but there's a pretty loud group over there in Calhoun County, and kind of liberal guys, liberal people, and they get together every now and then, which they have every right to do, by the way, and give the conservatives holy hell, and that's part of the job as far as the political class is concerned. That's for sure. So, Steve, go ahead.
These elected officials need to hear what we have to say too. So,
yes, sir. I didn't mean to interrupt you as soon as you got started there, but I told Representative Meyer that when I spoke with her a little earlier. Ann is one of the nicest people I've ever met, but I had to remind her that as far as the situation with African Americans in the country, they have loudly complained that they've been ignored for years and years and years, and they have. But I told Ann that a lot of us feel that way with the state and federal government. That when you don't hear us. We're out here. This is Iowa. You're supposed to hear us, especially down at the state level. And it doesn't seem like that happens very much. We get all tied up with lobbyists and this, that, and the other thing. And the ordinary person or people aren't being paid attention to. And that's disturbing. And I hope we can do better. Definitely. So what can we say about the Farm Bureau this week? Has it been a good week?
It has. We had kind of I guess you call it a board meeting, a teleconference last night. A lot was talked about, our lack of a county fair this year, and we agreed we're going to basically the money we would normally spend on our, putting our package together there, we're going to go ahead and just donate that to the local food banks in Webster County. So,
well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
That's we got limited options of what we can do, and that's probably the best course at this point. So, and then we're not going to have an annual meeting like we normally have been having. Our ballots are going to be mailed out eventually, and it's just the life and times we're dealing with here while we're under COVID. So,
well, we'll kind of finish here with the way we started. As far as the year 2020 is concerned, it can just pull over to the side of the road and I'll get out and walk because I've had about enough of this year already. I always look forward to that state fair, and they canceled it, of course, and I suppose they had to. I mean, it gets pretty close down there, even on the Grand Concourse, and
it did.
But I always look forward to that state fair, and I don't know about the Clay County Fair yet. I haven't been up there the last few years, but it's a great. It is the world's greatest county fair as far as what I've seen, and
sure.
It's got one of the better machinery displays, I think, in the whole Midwest. And I always enjoy going over and see what the latest equipment looks like. But haven't heard anything on the Clay County Fair as of yet. I know it's a big deal up there in Spencer and Clay County, and they want to save it if they can, and I hope they can, but they got to do what's best too. Steve Peterson's with the Webster County Farm Bureau. Did we miss anything, Steve?
I don't think we did. We touched on a lot of subjects. So.
Well, all right. Just trying to keep people informed. That's what we're trying to do here. There's so many people that don't understand what's happening in agriculture, and that's the reason we're on the air with Steve and others. Steve, I want to thank you, as always, for being on the air with us.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
All right. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. This portion of the program brought to you by the Webster County Farm Bureau.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson Ricky LeBlanc, admitted in Massachusetts only. Sokolov Law LLC, Chestnut Hill, Mass. Paul J. Morgan, Winter Park, Florida. Greg Hobby, New Jersey. Michael Bro Gonzalez, admitted Louisiana. While this firm maintains joint responsibility, most cases of this type are referred to other attorneys for principal responsibility. Mesothelioma. If you know what mesothelioma is, you or someone you love has likely been affected by this devastating cancer. You may be entitled to compensation. Call Sokolov Law today. 1-800-736-2100. The only known cause of mesothelioma is asbestos exposure. Thousands of U.S. veterans and trade workers are at risk for the disease. Nearly $30 billion in court-ordered trusts has been set aside to pay money to asbestos victims. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call now. You may be able to receive compensation without ever going to court or filing a lawsuit. Call for a free legal consultation at 1-800-736-2100. That's 1-800-736-2100. 1-800-736-2100.
When you're stressed, you just don't feel like yourself. New Natrol Relaxia, a full line of drug-free supplements to help you manage occasional stress and anxiety. A special blend of herbals keeps you feeling calm and balanced throughout the day. Because when there's less stress, there's more you. Try new Natrol Relaxia. Learn more at relaxiamood.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. Publishers Clearinghouse is ready to award $5,000 a week for life in just days. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week, week after week, for life. Don't miss this last chance to win $5,000 a week for life on June 30th. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Better hurry if you want the next big winner to be you. Enter now at PCH.com. Entries due 6/25. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. 2 people are dead and 2 more injured after a shooting incident that occurred this morning in the Pleasant Valley area of Fort Dodge. The Fort Dodge Police Department was dispatched just before 5 a.m. this morning to the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest on reports of shots fired. Officers arrived and found a man who had been shot lying in the street unresponsive. The man was pronounced dead on the scene despite life-saving efforts. 2 women were shot in the incident as well. A short time after that, officers discovered a single vehicle accident at the intersection of South 15th Street and 6th Avenue South. Upon investigation, they discovered the man had been shot and lost consciousness while driving. He also was pronounced dead at the scene. Police believe he was shot on the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest. In total, 4 people were shot. A 25-year-old male and a 47-year-old male have passed away. The 21-year-old woman in the incident is said to be in stable condition, and the 30-year-old woman was treated and released. Names of those involved have not been released as of this time. Police are still investigating the incident and trying to determine the involvement the 4 victims had in the incident or if they were bystanders. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Fort Dodge Police. Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue released a statement Tuesday afternoon announcing that one of their firefighters has tested positive for COVID-19. The statement says the firefighter is currently at home under self-quarantine. The statement says the department has protocols in place to limit and prevent the spread of the virus between patients and fire personnel. The fire department says they are working with Webster County Public Health to identify people who may have been in contact with the affected fire department personnel. Those people will be contacted directly as part of the preparing for this time to come. Our department is committed to preventing the spread of COVID-19 and protecting the citizens we serve, end quote. Due to health privacy rights, the city is unable to provide any information on the firefighter who tested positive. Webster County Public Health also put out a statement Tuesday that the county now has 100 positive COVID-19 cases. 8 of those are children under the age of 18, 53 are 18 to 40 years old, 26 of those cases between 41 and 60, 12 between the ages of 61 and 80, and 1 person over the age of 80. softball on your radio tonight as the Fort Dodge Dodgers open up their season at Harlan Rogers, hosted Sioux City Heelan. The Dodgers come into the season number 1 in Class 5A in the preseason rankings for the first time in program history. Coach Andy Adams says they've embraced that number 1 ranking.
Having that expectation of being number 1, and we embrace it. We don't see it as, oh no. We don't see it that way at all. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep practicing to get to where we need to be.
Dodgers senior first baseman Logan Snetzer says even though they're ranked number 1, she doesn't feel any extra pressure.
Even though we're ranked number 1, we always have to prove we're number 1, and you have to prove, like, you do stuff one step at a time to make sure you get to that certain spot. So, and we have pressure on us every day, but I wouldn't say it's more pressure.
Catch all the action of Dodger softball tonight in the season opener, a 7 p.m. first pitch on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly clear skies and quiet this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 90. Winds out of the south 10 to 20 miles per hour. Lows level off around 65. Tonight, clear skies. Sunny skies and calm. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 91. Chance for scattered storms Thursday and Friday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 88.
Here's a look at how the markets closed yesterday. July corn down a quarter penny at $3.29. September up a half a cent at $3.34 1/4. December corn up 1 1/4 at $3.42 3/4. March up 3/4 at $3.54. July soybeans down 2 cents at $8.67. August down 2 at $8.68. September down 2 at $8.67 1/2. And November down 3 cents at $8.73. July wheat closed down 8 3/4 at $4.96. Soybean meal down 50 cents a ton at $287.90. June live cattle up 25 cents at $96.32. August up 77 at $96.77. August feeder cattle up 170 at $132.87. September up 187 at $134.45. July lean hogs down 262 at $49.65. August down 2 1/4 at $53.02. October down 150 at $51.72. I'm Dwayne Murley.
The nutrition story of dairy is part of the celebration of June Dairy Month. Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. Lucas Lynch is the CEO of Midwest Dairy.
Consumers today are looking for that protein-packed, nutrient-rich experience. And while there's a lot of competition in the marketplace, dairy is where your 9 essential nutrients reside, but most importantly, your 8 grams of protein, they're there for you in every 8-ounce glass of milk. And that's a really important part of what nutrition is about today.
And when it comes to ingredients, Lynch says milk reigns supreme.
Look at clean label on the alternative beverages and look at a clean label on that of dairy, and you will find the only clean label exists on dairy. The rest of it is a concoction of ingredients to come up with something that looks like dairy, tastes something similar, but we all know there's no comparison.
Not only that, he says milk fat is back.
Hands down, the best thing and the best, hottest story happening in fluid milk today is whole milk is back, and it's back big. It's growing month over month faster than the alternative category combined. That's how impressive the story of dairy and dairy nutrition has become and how relevant it is.
An 8-ounce glass of whole milk has 2.4 grams of fat, 8 grams of protein, and 30% of the calcium most bodies need. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. If you own firearms, it's your responsibility to make sure they're always stored safely. Hiding them in a closet or drawer is not enough. Kids know where they are. Research shows the risk of injury and death is lower if guns are stored unloaded and locked up, with the ammunition locked in a separate place. This is important when children are young, as well as when they grow into teenagers. For more, talk with your pediatrician or visit healthychildren.org. Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Flace with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. The nicotine in e-cigarettes is addictive and can harm brain development. That's why I worry about teens who try e-cigarettes. Many young people use pod-based e-cigarettes like Juul, which have high levels of nicotine. And because teens' brains are still developing, they can quickly become addicted. The tobacco industry uses fruit and candy flavors to attract young people, often turning them into lifelong users. For more, visit healthychildren.org.
Want new flooring but don't have time to run all over the place looking for the right floor? Hi, this is Dean Sturmer with Jim's Carpet One. Let Jim's Carpet One Floor and Home bring the store to you with their free shop-at-home service. See the samples in the rooms where you want the new flooring. Get measurements and advice professionally done at the same time. It's fast, easy, made to order for your busy life. Plus, it's from the local pros who will be here after the sale. Call Jim's Carpet One Floor and Home across from Decker Truck Line.
The General Store is now hiring. The General Store is accepting applications for a part-time team member. Job requirements include helping the store managers complete various tasks, including cashier duties, as well as accepting, sorting, and preparing donations from the public for the sales floor. If you have previous retail experience and can work varied shifts, including some evenings, holidays, and weekends, apply for the part-time team member position at onevision.org. One Vision Services is an equal opportunity employer.
Well, it's 3:40. On the air with us now is Jim Kirsten. How are you, Jim?
Real good, Mike. Thanks for having me back.
Not a problem. It's a warm, windy day, and it's been a good summer. Just got this coronavirus and all this unrest and tragedy that we have in our country. I wish I was more upbeat, but maybe you can do that for me, Jim. The session has just wrapped up. It wrapped up over the weekend, the legislative session. You spent a lot of time down there.
Yeah.
Can you?
I was down there almost all last week just to help make sure they had the information they needed on behalf of the community colleges and education in general. And it was, a lot of long waits in between meetings. I finally came home on Friday afternoon, and I watched the rest of the action on the internet on the computer. But it ended up, the budget. I think they all worked very good in a bipartisan way to understand. We have no real extra money to give out per se, because we just don't know what's going to happen next year. So our budget stayed status quo, which we expected and we support. And then at the same time, we're continuing to work with our federal delegation on their federal relief efforts to make sure that we have adequate funding for workforce training, because a lot of these companies are going to be going to have to retrain the existing people into new ways to do their operations in a more safe environment. So it's a work in progress for everybody, but I think overall, based on the terrible situation the country and state faced, they all did a good job.
Well, there's so many things to talk about, I guess, in that regard, but I don't know what we'd say that was any different. But
one of the most remarkable things I think that I saw in my whole life of watching politics is how fast, in one day, the legislature and the governor came together to pass that criminal justice reform and justice reform efforts to help reinforce that all Americans want fairness and equal justice to all, and that what happened in Minneapolis is terrible. But to have, violence erupt that's worse than that coming back, not worse, but equal to, and causing all the damage it did, for example, in downtown Des Moines, etc., is wrong. So I think the state, again, in a very bipartisan way, I'm very proud of Iowa, the way, again, it acted, and I hope the rest of the country can follow Iowa's act.
Well, it doesn't make any sense to me, and of course I'm an older person now. Maybe in my young radical days it would have made any sense, but I don't think you get your point across by burning down a Nordstrom's.
No. It's just and unfortunately, it's a radical group, and I hate to say it, some of it probably on the left, some on the right, that are trying to take advantage of a terrible situation to cause disruption, and they're now trying to do it, I think, across the globe. And I just again hope the American people will come back to reality and let the majority know that these very small minority of anarchists are not going to get away with it.
Do you think there's some right-wing people involved in this in Des Moines or our state?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just reading on the internet like everybody, but I think there's some there's active groups. Not again, I have no inside information, but there's people on both sides of the very extreme that will go to whatever means to get what they want, and they're looking at this as an opportunity to cause disruption and maybe give them an opportunity, but it's not. American people are going to speak up and say, like we did in Iowa, let's work together. We've got our issues to deal with. We've got our laws and our police issues to deal with. And I know 99% of the policemen out there facing life, their life and death every day, are not like that guy up in Minneapolis. And I think Fort Dodge Police has done a good job, and Roger Porter and his team. So yeah, I just think hopefully, most of us are really, civil, very equal justice. But when you get these radicals on both sides, it doesn't help the discussion.
Well, they're just malicious is all they are. I don't know if they're political or not, but they're certainly
Well,
malicious.
they're bullies.
Yeah, they're bullies and thugs, and I can't believe the mayor of Seattle described taking over an entire neighborhood as a block party. But Seattle's a different place. There's no doubt about that. I know the governor wanted to do some things as far as criminal justice reform is concerned, and I'm glad of that. I had a conversation with a Fort Dodge police officer on air a couple weeks ago, and he told me that the chokehold is not allowed by the Fort Dodge Police Department. They don't use it. It's specifically banned. And they also don't put somebody on their stomach with their hands behind their back, handcuffed like that.
No.
I've only been able to watch that Minneapolis video one time. And it was so disgusting, I never wanted to see it again. It was just horrified me. And I'm not easily...
I agree. I watched part of it, and I switched it. I said, I can't watch it. It's just terrible, and there's no way to justify that.
No, there's no way in the world, and the officer responsible should pay the price.
And then those other 2 or 3 that were around him didn't do a darn thing, and they let it happen. So they're all culpable.
Well, I'm not an attorney, but the man who this Derek Chauvin or whatever his name is, who kept his knee on that poor George Floyd all that time, he was a 19-year veteran and a training officer, and two of those officers kept saying to him, maybe you ought to take your knee off this guy, or maybe we ought to move him. And he said, no, we're going to keep him right here. Those officers were trainees.
Trying to do.
They were trainees. They'd been on the police force less than a week, and they lost their jobs, and they're charged with.
Ooh, I didn't know all that.
Yeah, it's all on this Chauvin character's shoulders, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's just wrong. And so, but on a positive note, I think Iowa acted quickly last week. I was very, very happy to see that, and the leadership shown by both parties and the various groups involved really stepped up. And it made me really proud to be an Iowan.
Oh yeah, I've always thought Iowa and the people of Iowa we're called Iowa nice by some people. I really think that's true. And if some of our neighbors, and if there are black people and our neighbors are being injured or they have a complaint, they should be listened to, their views respected, and action taken when necessary. And I hope we did that down at the State House.
I think it did. And then, Dave Flattery and myself and others are trying to help raise some funds to build the memorial to Floyd of Rosedale.
Yeah.
And it's ironic that that hog was over a football game because Iowa players were very upset that the Minnesota players the year before really abused one of their black teammates.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to stand for it. Anyway, the governors, to calm the tensions, decided to have this bet about who had the better hog, and whoever lost had to deliver it. Well, Iowa lost, so the governor of Iowa called Loomis's here in Fort Dodge, got the hog, and delivered it up there. And it's how ironic now that, again, the University of Iowa has some issues that it sounds like they've dealt with pretty quickly, and they're going to continue to fix any problems internally in that athletic department. But I hope it comes out again and reminds people, University of Iowa and football have always been a leader in diversity and protecting people's rights. And if there were, again, some abusive coaches there that got out of line, I think it sounds like the one coach retired and others are being reviewed. Everybody needs to be held accountable, and I just hope that at the end of the day we can make a terrible situation into a good lesson.
I hope so. The lesson coming out of the University of Iowa with Chris Doyle is that we shouldn't be overtly racist. I don't think Doyle was overtly racist. But he said a lot of racially insensitive things. He and Brian Ferentz both, as a matter of fact. Of course, Brian's...
Yeah, I mean, he's under review, I understand. So
yeah. Is Brian under review as well?
I think so, and he reports directly to the athletic director, Barta.
Yeah.
And so I'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's a cute little arrangement. But, yeah,
yeah, I guess, yeah.
But, no, we shouldn't... insensitive remarks like Doyle was making shouldn't be allowed, and his dismissal or his retirement. I know he got a pretty good retirement package, but
yeah, he did.
But he had to leave, and I hope anybody who makes those sort of remarks is gone as well. And
I agree.
We don't hire anybody like that in the future, and let's move forward with that idea. That doesn't mean that a drill sergeant like Chris Doyle can't exist in the weight room. I mean, athletes have to be pushed, and they can be pushed without that sort of nonsense.
Exactly.
They can be pushed without that sort of nonsense.
You probably played football. I played football back in the day, and our coaches would chill us out like you couldn't believe, both black and white. And I probably got most of it because I'd always go outside and tick off the coach. And he'd say in so many words, you got to remember, whatever, you got to go on the count. You got to listen, pay attention.
Go on the count.
He would grab me by my face mask and just shake the heck out of me. And, and again, looking back, that wasn't too far. But today, that's just not allowed. And I don't know what was going on in the University of Iowa weight room, but if it was insensitive and, out of line, it shouldn't happen.
Who was the coach back then for St. Edmund?
Well, I was at Fort Dodge Senior High.
Oh, you were at Senior
High. That coach is actually that coach was Don Mathis. Dave Cox was our head coach, and our senior year in high school is the year that we played Mason City, and defeated Mason City in Fort Dodge in triple overtime, and then ended up playing them in the playoffs up in Mason City. And Barry Alvarez was their head coach.
Yeah.
Well, Mason City just killed us. And then they went on to win the state title, and Hayden Fry hired Barry to go with him that first year at Iowa, and the rest is history. But but athletics teaches you a lot of discipline, and I think maybe this coach Doyle is trying to teach discipline, but he could have used different tactics probably.
Yeah, his problem was again telling players that if they didn't do better, he'd send them back to the ghetto in a bus or something. I mean, that's not a way to talk to people.
No.
I mean, if you want to tell him to get going or you'll kick him in the rear, I think that's fine. But you don't need to make some remark like that. I mean, again, I hope we learned something from this. I hope Chris Doyle did, the University of Iowa football program did, and let's not make those denigrating remarks. I mean, I know they're not over. You may not think they're overtly racial at the time, but when it comes back it has, it really does seem overly racial.
Yeah, it puts it in perspective. It was out of line and shouldn't happen. And so I hope this again that program can get through it. We can move on, all to learn lessons. And the same thing in Fort Dodge. Again, we've got great leadership that are working together, both police department, sheriff, city council, and our various groups in the community. So I feel very confident we're going to be a stronger community out of this too.
Oh, I think so. I've said this several times. I'm going to say it again. I was very proud to be a resident of Fort Dodge, Iowa, during the protests that happened right after the George Floyd incident. And there are two videos that come out of that horrible week. One was of George Floyd being murdered, I think, and the other was the protesters here in Fort Dodge were peaceful. They kneeled in front of the Warden Plaza. The Fort Dodge police knelt with them, and they all said the Lord's Prayer. Now, I thought that was very, very inspiring. One of the most beautiful things I've seen.
That just gives me goosebumps because that's just the way, of course you can have a right to protest and do it, what have you, peacefully, and then to have the law enforcement community and them do that. It is, again, that's good leadership from the police, but also the people organizing the event.
Well, I think it happened spontaneously too. I don't know if that was. I'm sure that wasn't planned.
I bet it was spontaneous. I bet it was.
But it was. Boy, it really said something, and it made the rounds of the Des Moines TV stations, who sometimes have a little bit of a problem with saying something positive about Fort Dodge. But they were very glowing over that particular incident. So,
Well, and then also political. I mean, we haven't talked because I was really busy last week, but the primary's over, and now we have Randy Feenstra running against Mr. Schouten.
Yeah, did that surprise you?
No, I wish Steve just wouldn't have run, because generally over the years, he's done a good job, and he hasn't, offended, most people. But again, he had to be careful of how he said things, and he just didn't ever quite grasp that, and it finally caught up with him. So I just thought of the way that district is laid out, Randy Feenstra would very well have a good chance of winning. And he did carry it very heavily across the district, except really Webster County. He only beat Congressman King by 100 and some votes.
Yeah.
Because Steve, I think, again, he had a lot of bipartisan support in Webster County.
Well, he was a very likable guy. He is a very likable guy. And, and he is a conservative, and his conservative values are shared by, I would think, a majority in the Congressional 4th District. But the committee assignment thing, not having any committee assignments really hurt him.
Really hurt him. Because, think about it. During the COVID, we had no one sitting at the Agriculture Committee table helping figure out how can we best, help these farmers be protected moving forward in regard to the markets and what have you. And we had no seat at that table. Now we will. I'm sure Randy Feenstra, because of the numbers in that district, will likely win his seat, be in Congress, and then we'll have a new active voice like we did with Steve when he was earlier in his career, and then Tom Latham as well.
Well, we can't forget that Steve King did a lot for us here in Florida.
Oh yeah,
he did.
So,
and I'm not going to turn my back on him.
We'll recognize him for that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say he's a bad guy after he stood up for us so many times.
Right,
and
he has.
Yeah, yes.
So I think he'll be recognized appropriately, and I hope that he can move on and not take the loss too hard. But I personally asked him, I said, just don't run. And I think he was really determined that the swamp in Washington was the one behind trying to get him out of there. And it was a combination of a lot of things, but he himself had a lot to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, it's just unfortunate. I know he'll land on his feet, and he'll do very well and have an ability to impact policy in a different role, doing whatever he's going to do in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either, but he's still healthy. He's about 71 years old, as I recall, and he's lived in the same house for 40-some years, and he has a close family, and he can.
They'll be fine.
Oh, yeah. He can probably do whatever he wants to do. If he wants to go sit on the front porch, that would be fine.
Yeah,
What would be wrong with that, Is there anything else we should know here, Jim?
Well, no, just that Iowa Central is slowly reopening to get, basically all the staff back on campus by July 1. But again, we're working it like everybody, day by day. Dr. Kinney and a lot of the folks that are trying to develop come back in the fall safety precautions. Now, when people drive onto our campus and they want to come in and do a student visit or even visit anywhere on campus, we have a outside visitor center where you have to sign in, and I believe we're taking the temperatures of everybody to make sure they don't have a high temperature, just to keep, again, people from bringing something onto our campus unnecessarily. So I think they're doing a really good job of helping not only protect our work and our staff, but the students that will be coming back, and I think there'll be more of it online as well. And so I know that the online area, that the college staff are really working hard to be ready for that. So it's been a working experience, and I think really Iowa Central has probably done one of the best jobs in higher ed and adapting.
All right. Jim Kerson's been our guest. Thank you very much, Jim.
Yep, thank you.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD. It's 3:58.
White or wheat, classic or old-fashioned, with or without sesame seeds. With so many choices, selecting the right bun for your super-duper top-secret recipe handcrafted home-grilled burger can seem overwhelming. But relax, the bakers at Village Hearth have made it easy. As long as you see the familiar Village Hearth logo on your package, your grilling cookout's bound to be a huge success. Unless, that is, your unwanted relatives show up, then there's no bun on earth that can save it. Village Hearth Buns, baking our best for you.
These are unprecedented times. We are coming together in new ways. Family, friends, and neighbors, all doing what we can to help. Mercy One thanks our selfless colleagues on the front lines for for their dedication to personalized, excellent care. Our more than 20,000 colleagues thank you for partnering to stop the spread of COVID-19 by washing your hands, staying home, and practicing social distancing. We are all in this together. Mercy One, your best life, our one purpose.
We all need a little help sometimes.
Lifelong Links connects older Iowans who need assistance with living independently.
During these challenging times, you may find yourself in need of a little assistance in order to remain healthy and safe in your home. Lifelong Links from the Iowa Department on Aging will connect you to available resources such as food, meals, personal care, or just someone to talk with.
Please call 866-468-7887 and you will receive a supportive response to help navigate these uncertain times together.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock.
This is Dave Graveline. Be sure to listen to Into Tomorrow right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
President Trump wants better standards for policing. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. An executive order signed today is aimed at encouraging police reform.
The president is making available federal assistance from the Department of Justice to police agencies who adopt new credentialing and certification standards to make sure that they have the most up-to-date policies on the use of force. Among the things that the president wants to change, the use of chokeholds.
As part of this new credentialing process, chokeholds will be banned, except if an officer's life is at risk.
The president said the administration is looking into the use of advanced and powerful, less lethal weapons to help prevent deadly interactions.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House. A database would also be created to keep track of officers with excessive force complaints. There's been bipartisan support for those kinds of steps, but the Senate Majority Leader says parts of a Democratic bill passed by the House amount to overreach. Joe Biden has suggested the president isn't doing enough, the presumptive Democratic nominee tweeting earlier today about the need to tackle systemic racism head-on. A White House effort to make drug prices more transparent by requiring drug makers to disclose wholesale prices in TV ads is blocked again by a federal appeals court.
Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar announced the requirement in May 2019, saying Americans have a right to know the cost and that transparency could ultimately drive drug prices down. The three-judge panel concluding HHS lacked the authority to impose the disclosure rule because there's no reasoned statutory basis for it.
Fox's Steve Rappaport. Another appeal is possible. Big rally on Wall Street, the Dow up 526 points, partly over a jump in retail sales in May, but also fueled by hope in the fight against coronavirus, a widely available steroid, dexamethasone, showing promise in treating the most seriously ill patients in Britain. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
A bill designed to make Washington, D.C. the 51st state is heading for a House vote next week.
For the first time in more than 20 years, the House will vote on a D.C. statehood measure, long a priority for leaders of the district who complain the city's 700,000 residents are shortchanged without full congressional representation.
We'll sit there like, what are we, chopped liver, and 700,000 taxpayers who give more to the federal government than we get back. And that made a difference. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser believes public sentiment nationwide is growing more supportive of D.C. statehood.
But in Congress, support is far from bipartisan, with Republican leaders opposed to D.C. statehood and unlikely to bring up the bill in the GOP-led Senate. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A zone occupied by protesters in Seattle may be shrinking, the group apparently reaching an agreement with city officials to occupy less of the area. Meantime, the police chief says officers will go in if there are threats to public safety. Families across America may be heading for a digital detox soon, based on the results of one survey.
One poll conducting a study on behalf of Circle, the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement, asking 2,000 American families about the impact of sheltering in place. Nearly 70% of parents say they plan on limiting their children's screen time following months stuck inside. 48% of respondents say they have a digital curfew in place. Reps for Circle say incorporating nostalgic indoor and outdoor activities like water balloon fights, scavenger hunts, and baking, as well as specified time online, is the key to success this summer.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. New York City still plans to host the U.S. Open tennis tournament beginning in late August, but Governor Andrew Cuomo says it'll be without fans. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. 2 people are dead and 2 more injured after a shooting incident that occurred this morning in the Pleasant Valley area of Fort Dodge. The Fort Dodge Police Department was dispatched just before 5 a.m. this morning to the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest on reports of shots fired. Officers arrived and found a man who had been shot lying in the street unresponsive. The man was pronounced dead on the scene despite life-saving efforts. 2 women were shot in the incident as well. A short time after that, officers discovered a single vehicle accident at the intersection of South 15th Street and 6th Avenue South. Upon investigation, they discovered the man had been shot and lost consciousness while driving. He also was pronounced dead at the scene. Police believe he was shot on the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest. In total, 4 people were shot. A 25-year-old male and a 47-year-old male have passed away. The 21-year-old woman in the incident is said to be in stable condition, and the 30-year-old woman was treated and released. Names of those involved have not been released as of this time. Police are still investigating the incident and trying to determine the involvement the 4 victims had in the incident or if they were bystanders. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Fort Dodge Police. Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue released a statement Tuesday afternoon announcing that one of their firefighters has tested positive for COVID-19. The statement says the firefighter is currently at home under self-quarantine. The statement says the department has protocols in place to limit and prevent the spread of the virus between patients and fire personnel. The fire department says they are working with Webster County Public Health to identify people who may have been in contact with the affected fire department personnel. Those people will be contacted directly as part of the contact tracing process. Fort Dodge Fire Chief Steve Hergenreiter said, quote, Fort Dodge Fire Rescue personnel are community heroes and have been on the front lines every day. We take any potential exposure seriously and have been preparing for this time to come. Our department is committed to preventing the spread of COVID-19 and protecting the citizens we serve, end quote. Due to health privacy rights, the city is unable to provide any information on the firefighter who tested positive. Webster County Public Health also put out a statement Tuesday that the county now has 100 positive COVID-19 cases. 8 of those are children under the age of 18. 53 are 18 to 40 years old. 26 of those cases between 41 and 60. 12 between the ages of 61 and 80, and 1 person over the age of 80. Softball on your radio tonight as the Fort Dodge Dodgers open up their season at Harlan Rogers, hosted Sioux City Heelan. The Dodgers come into the season number 1 in Class 5A in the preseason rankings for the first time in program history. Coach Andy Adams says they've embraced that number 1 ranking.
Having that expectation of being number 1, and we embrace it. We don't see it as, no. We don't see it that way at all. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep practicing to get to where we need to be.
Dodgers senior first baseman Logan Snetzer says even though they're ranked number 1, she doesn't feel any extra pressure.
even though we're ranked number one, we always have to prove we're number one, and you have to prove, like, you have to do stuff one step at a time to make sure you get to that certain spot. So we have pressure on us every day, but I wouldn't say it's more pressure.
Catch all the action of Dodger softball tonight in the season opener, a 7 p.m. first pitch on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly clear skies and quiet this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 90. Winds out of the south 10 to 20 miles per hour. Lows level off around 65. Tonight, clear skies. Sunny skies and calm. Tomorrow, daytime highs approaching 91. Chance for scattered storms Thursday and Friday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 88.
Summer gifting is going on right now at Merle Norman. When you purchase 2 or more products, you'll receive a trial size set of our Summer Beauty Picks for Eyes. And if you're ready for a new look, check out our Fantasy color collection before it sells out. Available now at Merle Norman, located inside Mary Kay's Gifts and Home Decor, 1108 Central Avenue, downtown Fort Dodge.
Your gift is free with the purchase of 2 or more Merle Norman cosmetic products. Cosmetic accessories not included. Offer available now while supplies last at participating Merle Norman Cosmetic Studios. Limit 1 per customer. They reserve the right to substitute individual components.
When you're stressed, you just don't feel like yourself. New Natrol Relaxia, a full line of drug-free supplements to help you manage occasional stress and anxiety. A special blend of herbals keeps you feeling calm and balanced throughout the day. Because when there's less stress, there's more you. Try new Natrol Relaxia. Learn more at relaxiamood.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Well, David Farrick is here. He's city manager of Fort Dodge. David, you can just call me Truth. You don't have to call me Doctor of Truth. I think we can be informal in that way. How are you doing today?
Great, Mike. How are you doing?
All right. You sound a little tired, buddy. You need to lean back in that big old chair you got and take a nap, or what?
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. Yes, it would. Kind of hard for me in my job, though. You know, if I'm sleeping, there's nothing on the air, and people notice every now and then.
Yeah, that would be bad.
That would be bad. We're getting are we getting our street work done? I know we have that area between the Fairway store and the rec center that's really been undergoing some renovations. When is that scheduled to be completed?
You know, I don't know an exact date, but I do know it's going to go almost the entire construction season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's not, once we finish First Avenue South intersection, we're going to move and do the Central Avenue intersection.
Oh, you're going to move right up the street then?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I use the Fairway or First Avenue South thing more than I do the Central, so I'm good with that. I'm good with that. We didn't have a city council meeting last night.
That is correct.
Our
off night.
Off night. So what is going on over at the city?
Well, it's just busy times. We have an unfortunate incident this morning, and
yeah, that was terrible. We haven't got any more of the details yet, but
no,
I don't
have any more details.
Two people were murdered apparently, or shot to death anyway, down in down the flats or Pleasantville, and 2 others were wounded, which is by God, that's awful.
Yeah, and don't know too many facts about it to be able to report now, but other than what's already been reported. Okay, yeah. Well, you know, we'll find out in due time. You know, it's the families have to be notified and all that sort of thing. I always feel a little bit funny, but when something like this happens, I'd like to know the details, but I don't like to intrude at a time like this either on the family. You know, God, how would you like to get a knock on the door and say your loved one's just been shot to death? I can't even imagine that. But that would be horrible.
That would be horrible. So you can't tell me anything specifically that's going on over at the city. Are you intending to close City Hall then? Or?
Yeah, if I were my choice, we just close down for the summer.
So close for the summer.
Break, you know, like elementary school.
We've done our job, and you know, we'll see you in September. There's even a song like that.
So the one thing is the incentive package that the council put together the $25 credit is hitting the water bills that went out probably yesterday, or maybe some of them may have got even the week before. So that first round of bills are going to have the $25 deduction, and then the people that normally get billed at the end of the month will have that $25 deduction. So excited about that. We're encouraging people to spend that money in businesses locally, maybe especially businesses that were either closed or mostly closed during the what do we call it? I don't want to call it lockdown. That's not the right term, but you know what I mean. When things were shut down, to help out those businesses, if you do that, take a picture of the receipt and post it on the city's Facebook site. We're going to have a little fun contest on who can have the most creative use of the $25 city credit.
Yeah, it's a nice thing, $25, and of course, by all reports, the businesses that have suffered the most are small businesses like restaurants and bars. Now, the governor has opened up the state even further as of Friday. Does that mean all the restaurants and bars can go back to business as usual, or do you know?
Well, I don't think it's quite business as usual. I think, to be specific, I think there was some language in there that says bars can't have, you have to be seated at a bar. It can't, you've probably been at a bar that's crowded and busy and people are just lined up and piled up against the bar. You're not supposed to do that. So it's supposed to be seated and there's supposed to be separation.
So the governor's a fun hater. Oh, yeah. See, what we really need is Keith Dinklaw to be the governor, because Keith does not hate fun.
No, Keith is not a fun hater.
You and Bebrick get to be fun haters every now and then. You know that, don't you?
I know it.
It's
not a fun job.
It's not a fun job being city manager?
No, I like being a city manager. I don't like being a fun hater, though.
Oh, yeah, that's a bummer. That's a total bummer. We have had not a spring cleanup because of the COVID virus, but are we still making allowances for the city to pick up trash and bulk items into the month of June or not?
We are. We're going to do it in the month of June, July, and most of August is the plans right now.
Explain that process, please.
So it's our pilot study pilot project, where we're doing ordered bulk pickup, so that you can go to our C-Click Fix app, Connect Fort Dodge, and order bulk pickup for the days that we're doing your side of town. Because we split the town in half. We're doing east side one week and west side the next week to limit the amount of travel. And now we're back on the east side. So if you're in east side, east of 15th, pretty much, or your recycling is picked up this week, then you can order bulk pickup for any day this week. We just need to know in advance, by noon the day in advance, so we can put you on the list. Go to C-Click Fix and order it, and you can do it. We'll also pick up tires and TVs and monitors and appliances, but there's fees associated with that. A tire is $5 each. TV monitors and appliances are $15 each, and we sell the stickers at City Hall. City Hall's open. You come to City Hall, buy the sticker, stick it on the item, and we'll pick those up as well.
Where do I get a building permit? I'm having some guys put in a bathroom for me. I got to get over there and get a building permit. And do we have you waived the fee for building permits or not?
No, the fees for building permits, the City Council has basically cut them in half.
Okay.
So really how it works is if you come in and do a building permit application, we're only going to charge you for half the fee at the front end. And then if you begin the project and complete it within, keep working on it. If you begin a project within 60 days and you work diligently to get it done, we then waive the second half of the fee.
Okay.
So if you need to get a building permit, the nice thing is you get to call the most friendly person in the world, Karen Lawler, and she can help you out getting that building permit.
Karen Lawler, in what department?
She's in Business Affairs.
Business Affairs, okay.
Yeah.
So do I need to go over to City Hall or?
No, you do not. You can do it all over the phone.
Oh, I can do it all over the phone.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that is good. Well, here, let me make a note. Karen Lawler. I know who Karen is, and you're right. She's a very nice person. Very nice person. David Furick is our guest. He's city manager of Fort Dodge, and this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I look forward to the day when we can have guests like David back in the studio, but we're not there yet. Our company headquarters is in Portland, Oregon, and maybe they have the COVID thing worse out there than we do. I don't know. We have it bad enough. Did the legislative session was wrapped up over the weekend? Is there anything that you paid particular attention to on behalf of the city that would come out of this legislative session?
There was nothing that seemed too detrimental, and there was a few bills that I know the league was watching and concerned about, but obviously I haven't seen whether they actually passed or not, if they wrapped it up. I think, there always appears that state was gonna not fund the backfill, but it appears they're going to, so that's good. So they didn't come after our revenue sources, so that's always helpful.
They did not come after the revenue sources?
No.
Well, what revenue sources would they want to come after? I mean, we do things like any other city, don't we? We tax property, we tax this and that, sales tax. I mean, we're not selling drugs on the side or anything.
No, the backfill is one that they've come after. They've
the what?
They've done.
I'm sorry.
The backfill, the property tax backfill. And they've
Oh.
made changes to property tax over time, and so
that's right. That backfill was supposed to go on for 10 years. Is that still going on?
It's still going on.
Okay, and has the state kept their word?
So far, yep.
Wow. Well, that's not.
I know.
What brought about that? Governor Branstad was actually still in office. He's the one that got that through. He's tax cutter extraordinaire, of course. But how did that work for the cities? He wanted to. Well, I don't know. Do you remember how that all got started with Governor Branstad and what the result was?
Yeah. So what Governor Branstad wanted to do is reduce the property tax burden for commercial and multifamily residential.
Oh, right.
Because there was a disparity in the way the Iowa tax system is set up, where the commercial and multi-residential pay a higher burden than single-family residential. So by changing the way the assessments are, or the tax value is established for commercial, they rolled that back over a period of time, and multifamily residential, actually it reduced the tax value in cities. So to make the cities whole, they created this backfill program where the state pays money out of their general revenues and just pays it to the city in lieu of taxes we would have collected if the commercial and multi-residential property taxes weren't rolled back.
Okay. It's 4:22 at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Our guest is City Manager David Furick, and I'm sorry I have to interrupt our conversation. We have a bulletin from the Fort Dodge Police Department. The victims of a murder, a double murder actually, in our town overnight have been identified. 25-year-old Jamail Cox of Fort Dodge is deceased. Mr. Cox was located in the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest with a gunshot wound to the upper torso, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. 47-year-old Tyrone Cunningham of Fort Dodge was killed as well in the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest at the time of the shooting and was struck by gunfire in his lower extremities before leaving the area in his vehicle. Mr. Cunningham fled the area before losing consciousness and crashing his vehicle in the intersection of South 15th and 6th Avenue South. Mr. Cunningham was pronounced dead at the scene of that incident. Wounded include 21-year-old Marissa Andrews of Fort Dodge. Miss Andrews was nearby when the shooting occurred and was struck by gunfire in the face and the leg. She was transported to Unity Point Trinity Regional Medical Care in stable condition before being transferred to a Des Moines area hospital for further treatment. 30-year-old Janie Barstrom of Wesley, Iowa, was nearby when she was struck in the lower leg by gunfire during the incident. She, too, was transported to Unity Point. And I almost hate to say this, but at this stage of the investigation, according to Fort Dodge Police, all victims appear to have been bystanders, while others were firing at each other. So all the victims, the 2 dead and the 2 wounded, appear to be bystanders. Boy, that's
terrible.
That really is. That's just terrible. You know, with all the things. I've said this all afternoon, David. I'm riding around in a car with the year 2020 driving, and I'm about to say, pull over, I'll walk into town, you know, because I've had it with this year already. I want to tell you, I'm just,
oh my Lord.
And this is just another thing, but there must be something good coming out of the city to report. I'm already talking with Karen Lawler tomorrow, for example.
Well, that's good. No, and I just know that our investigators and the Department of Criminal Investigations will do a hugely thorough job to figure out who is responsible for these crimes, and we'll work as hard as we can to bring those people to justice. I mean, we have great investigators working for us. DCI is incredibly competent, so I have full faith that we'll bring people to justice. But it takes cooperation. It takes
cooperation.
Full cooperation from the people that were there, the witnesses, and then justice can be served.
Well, this is such an ugly crime. I hope there's no problem. I mean, I know some people don't like to. Well, Melvin Newsom told me. He said, you know, sometimes that their family members are involved and they just don't. They're not going to cooperate. But I hope, because this crime is so ugly, that that won't be a factor here. And we have 4 people shot, for crying out loud. That's not good at all. Anyway, David Feerick, the city manager, is our guest here at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. So we'll kind of wrap it up where we started. So we have the First Avenue South and Central project, and that will be done, but we'll move right up the street to Central and 15th and do the same thing. What all is being done? Is there sewer work being done? I guess I haven't gotten close enough to see.
So the project there is predominantly a traffic safety project. It's improving the intersections, adding turn lanes, so traffic should flow much better through the First Avenue South intersection and 15th, and then the Central intersection and 15th. But once you rip up an entire street, it makes sense, especially because the utilities underneath are probably old.
Yeah.
To replace them, because you might as well, if you're opening that up, you might as well replace the utilities. So replace the water lines and sewer lines, maybe some capacity added there, help the drainage to move through. So yeah, so it becomes a full replacement with even the underground infrastructure, but it's primarily a traffic congestion, traffic safety project.
Are property taxes paying for these projects? Sales taxes or?
Sales tax predominantly is the local option sales tax is the big one. There's some federal, some state grants, some traffic safety and congestion grants that are going to it. Off the top of my head, Mike, I think there might be a portion of the property taxes that are going to I think our 2019 bond has a portion of that is allocated to this project. I could be wrong because I'm just trying to answer it cold. But.
I understand. Yeah, I'm popping the question on you.
Yeah.
Is there anything new to report in regard to the Warden Plaza or the former Crossroads Mall?
Not since last time. The Warden Plaza is, we're still working on approving the contract for the Wakanza Annex to get going on the remediation inside there. Again, I'm repeating myself from last week, but at Crossroads Plaza, the developer has submitted a preliminary plat which shows how the project's going to be divided up. Since it's not going to be one big building, it'll be a lot of smaller buildings. So the preliminary plat's been submitted. It'll go to the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 23rd, and then move through, and then through development. The final plat will be approved by council sometime later. So things are moving. There should be some announcements on businesses coming sometime in the next couple of months, I would say.
Well, I look forward to that. I just don't know what to do without them all out there, or of some kind, whatever it's going to be.
It'll take some time, but it'll be really neat once it's done.
Well, I have no doubt, David, and I have no doubt because you said so. So there we go. All right, David Furick, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Take care.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 4:29, 87 degrees. News is next.
How do you like your sandwich? Do you prefer turkey or ham, mayo or mustard, crunchy or creamy peanut butter? No matter what you like to put on your sandwich, everyone agrees that a really good sandwich should start with a really great bread. That's why the bakers of Country Hearth put so much care into making their natural breads. Baked with good stuff like toasted whole grains and natural honey, you're sure to find a variety that's just right for you. So no matter how you like your sandwich, Country Hearth has the perfect bread to build it on. Country Hearth Bread, baking our best for you.
We all need a little help sometimes.
Lifelong Links connects older Iowans who need assistance with living independently.
During these challenging times, you may find yourself in need of a little assistance in order to remain healthy and safe in your home. Lifelong Links from the Iowa Department on Aging will connect you to available resources such as food, meals, personal care, or just someone to talk with.
Please call 866-468-7887 and you will receive a supportive response to help navigate these uncertain times together.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. 2 people are dead and 2 more injured after a shooting incident that occurred this morning in the Pleasant Valley area of Fort Dodge. The Fort Dodge Police Department was dispatched just before 5 a.m. this morning to the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest on reports of shots fired. Officers arrived and found a man who had been shot lying in the street unresponsive. The man was pronounced dead on the scene despite life-saving efforts. 2 women were shot in the incident as well. A short time after that, officers discovered a single vehicle accident at the intersection of South 15th Street and 6th Avenue South. Upon investigation, they discovered the man had been shot and lost consciousness while driving. He also was pronounced dead at the scene. Police believe he was shot on the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest. In total, 4 people were shot. A 25-year-old male and a 47-year-old male have passed away. The 21-year-old woman in the incident is said to be in stable condition, and the 30-year-old woman was treated and released. Names of those involved have not been released as of this time. Police are still investigating the incident and trying to determine the involvement the 4 victims had in the incident or if they were bystanders. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Fort Dodge Police. Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue released a statement Tuesday afternoon announcing that one of their firefighters has tested positive for COVID-19. The statement says the firefighter is currently at home under self-quarantine. The statement says the department has protocols in place to limit and prevent the spread of the virus between patients and fire personnel. The fire department says they are working with Webster County Public Health to identify people who may have been in contact with the affected fire department personnel. Those people will be contacted directly as part of the contact tracing process. Fort Dodge Fire Chief Steve Hergenreiter said, quote, Fort Dodge Fire Rescue personnel are community heroes and have been on the front lines every day. We take any potential exposure seriously and have been preparing for this time to come. Our department is committed to preventing the spread of COVID-19 and protecting the citizens we serve, end quote. Due to health privacy rights, the city is unable to provide any information on the firefighter who tested positive. Webster County Public Health also put out a statement Tuesday that the county now has 100 positive COVID-19 cases. 8 of those are children under the age of 18. 53 are 18 to 40 years old. 26 of those cases between 41 and 60. 12 between the ages of 61 and 80, and 1 person over the age of 80. softball on your radio tonight as the Fort Dodge Dodgers open up their season at Harlan Rogers, hosted Sioux City Heelan. The Dodgers come into the season #1 in Class 5A in the preseason rankings for the first time in program history. Coach Andy Adams says they've embraced that #1 ranking.
Having that expectation of being #1, and we embrace it. We don't see it as, oh no. We don't see it that way at all. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep practicing to get to where we need to be.
Dodgers senior first baseman Logan Snetzer says even though they're ranked #1, she doesn't feel any extra pressure.
Even though we're ranked #1, we always have to prove we're #1, and you have to prove, like, you do stuff one step at a time to make sure you get to that certain spot. So, and we have pressure on us every day, but I wouldn't say it's more pressure.
Catch all the action of Dodger softball tonight in the season opener, a 7 p.m. first pitch on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 4:34. In the weather, first of all, it's 88 degrees. Sunny the rest of this afternoon into the evening, of course. Our high will be 88. Overnight clear with a low of 65. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 91. Going to be a little windy tomorrow. Thursday, chance of rain, sunny with a high of 91. Friday, a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Mostly sunny with a high of 84. On Saturday, showers and thunderstorms. Mostly cloudy with a high of 81. Sunday, a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Sunny with a high of 84 on Sunday. And on Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 84. Right now, again in town, it's 88 degrees. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Marcia Eastwood has died. Marcia A. Eastwood of Otho has died at the age of 74. She died last Friday at her home. There will be a celebration of life, and that'll be held on Saturday, July 4th at Riverside Trail in Kalo, Iowa. Memorials may be directed to the family. Arrangements for Marcia A. Eastwood of Otho are being handled by the historic Bruce Funeral Home. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. It's 4:36 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 88 degrees. Sherry Washington will be with us in the next segment. Right now, with a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed yesterday. July corn down a quarter penny at $3.29. September up a half a cent at $3.34 1/4. December corn up 1 1/4 at $3.42 3/4. March up 3/4 at $3.54. July soybeans down 2 cents at $8.67. August down 2 at $8.68. September down 2 at $8.67 1/2, and November down 3 cents at $8.73. July wheat closed down 8 3/4 at $4.96. Soybean meal down 50 cents a ton at $2.87.90. June live cattle up 25 cents at $96.32. August up 77 at $96.77. August feeder cattle up 170 at $132.87. September up 187 at $134.45. July lean hogs down 262 at $49.65. August down 2 1/4 at $53.02. October down 150 at $51.72. I'm Dwayne Murley.
I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks finishing higher with the major averages notching their third consecutive session of gains on stimulus hopes and after data showed Americans ramped up their spending in May. Retail sales rising 18% according to the Commerce Department, marking a sharp bounce back from a record slump in March and April during the depths of the coronavirus pandemic. The Dow rising 527 points, the Nasdaq up 170, S&P 500 up 58. Fed Chair Jerome Powell delivering the first of 2 days of semi-annual testimony before Congress. Powell says that the economy faces significant long-term damage from higher unemployment due to the coronavirus outbreak, despite recent signs of improvement, and adds,
until the public is confident that this disease is contained, a full recovery is unlikely.
Powell says that the central bank is committed to using all of its powers to cushion the economic fallout from the pandemic. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Your employees and customers have new expectations when it comes to cleanliness. Cintas has the products and services you need to feel prepared. A trained Cintas technician can apply disinfectant and sanitizer spray to common surfaces. And we'll keep you well stocked with gloves, face masks, hand sanitizer, and disinfectant wipes, professional cleaning supplies, and PPE. Just a few ways Cintas can help you keep your business safe. Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
Well, that's right. Our guest for this segment is Sherry Washington, and I've been telling people this all day, Sherry. You don't have to call me the Doctor of Truth. Simply truth will be fine. So how are you today?
I'm good, Mike. I'm good. How are you?
You are always good. See, I texted you a short time ago, and thank you for appearing on such short notice, because the news is just grim sometimes, and I kind of fall into this drone pattern where I can't say anything that sounds positive. So since you're always positive, I thought I would try to get your take on things. I don't know how to describe this particular period in our history. I just don't. On top of everything else, we had a double murder in Fort Dodge last night. It sounds like it anyway. 25-year-old Jameel Cox of Fort Dodge was shot in the upper torso, and 47-year-old Tyrone Cunningham of Fort Dodge, also deceased. He tried to get out of the area in his car but lost consciousness and passed away at the intersection of South 15th Street and 6th Avenue South. Two young women were also hit, but they are in the hospital, or the one girl is, and she seems to be in stable condition. The other young woman from Wesley, Iowa, was treated and released, but I don't know what to make of all these things, Sherry. So I'm going to try this. I'm just going to try this with you and see where you take it.
Okay.
Bill Russell, of course, was and is a Hall of Fame basketball player, and he entered the National Basketball Association in 1960 or in there somewhere. He was in college at the University of San Francisco in the late 50s. I don't know if 1960 was his rookie year, but it was in that area. Anyway, when Bill Russell came into the NBA, there was only one other black player on the team, and he and the other player were excluded from everything other than games and practices. Now, fast forward 20 years, 15, 20 years, and Bill Russell is now the coach of the Boston Celtics. And there were only two white players on the Boston Celtics, and they were excluded from everything but practices and games. Bill Russell, based on his previous experience, he didn't like what happened to him when he was very young and a rookie in the league, called his black players together. And he said, "This is wrong. I want you to make a concentrated effort to include the white players in events at your home, or try to befriend them in some way." And apparently the players did try. But a couple of them went to Russell and said, they're just too different. They like different things. They like different music, food. They talk about things that we don't want to talk about, and what we talk about they're not interested in. They're just too different. And with all the chaos that's been happening in our country in the last month, I was reminded of that story. And everybody's looking for reasons. And to my mind, Bill Russell gave us the reason. We can't seem to talk to each other. I mean, we may have grown up side by side, went to school together, all those things. But white people and black people seem to have trouble talking to each other. I don't have any problem talking to you, but do you understand what I'm talking about? Do you find any validity in what Bill Russell's experience was?
Oh, yes, I definitely understand. Communication is key. You have to be able to communicate. So if you don't have the open lines, if you don't have communication, then your thoughts can kind of build up to whatever you may want them to be. And without talking about things or having some sort of open dialogue, then things get lost, so the waters get a little muddy. And that's what seems to happen with our communication line when those conversations aren't when those conversations aren't on the table.
Yeah, to your considerable credit, you've invited me and others down to Second Baptist Church and ask us to speak during services. And I remember Dr. Jess Ulrich, the superintendent of the schools, got up and he said, "Look, I don't understand. I'm a white person. I don't get it." And I echoed his sentiments. He went on to say he didn't know how life looked to a black person. He didn't know how authority looked to a white person. I was right with him. There's black people I've known all my life, and they'll tell me the same thing, that they don't get how I look at things at a deep level. I mean, we can talk about sports all day long, but at a deep level, we just don't see things the same way, and that's got to be the real hurdle here. The thing that happened up in Minneapolis was just was an ugly spark. That was an ugly murder caught on a video, and it just horrified everybody. I just can't look at it. I can't, to this day, I can't look at it. But the problem seems to be where, for all our speaking of opening up dialogues and communicating, boy, that seems to, and it sounds so easy, but it sounds like a bigger hurdle sometimes than it really is.
Well, Mike, I think that one thing that folks have to understand is that you won't always agree. So when you know that you can, sometimes you're going to have to agree to disagree. You just have to have an open mind. But when you just go in with one track and that's all it's going to be, and that's all you're going to see, and that's all you're going to do, and that's all you want to know, then it gets nowhere.
Boy, that's the truth.
And
of course, we've got this social media out there, and I've come to understand that what Facebook sells is hatred and rage. That's what the real attraction is there. People get on and scream at each other. And total strangers. I caught myself doing it not too long ago. Total strangers. Don't know them.
Well, that's the downside of social media. Folks can just easily type something that they surely would not say to you if you were standing in front of them. Some folks can just get away with just typing and just thinking that's it. Communication on social media is definitely, it has its advantages and its disadvantages.
Yeah, of course it does. I want to make this offer, Sherry, and I hate to get you and Clayton and Ira Shivers and a few others on air to speak for black people. You can't speak for black people. You can speak for yourselves. But if I want another perspective, that's sometimes what I have to do. And I appreciate, again, you being on such short notice. But if you know any people, African Americans in our community, that have something to say, let them say it on this radio station. I will happily make time for anyone that wants to do that. Now, I've reached out to some of the African American people I've known for years here in town, and I'll tell you what they told me. No.
Yeah, we hear that sometimes too, Mike. It's not a color thing, so they didn't tell you that because you're Caucasian.
No.
No, it's just no across the board sometimes.
Yeah, it is, and it does seem to be something with Caucasians and with African Americans. I ain't coming on there and talking about that. What are you, crazy? And I just tell me how you feel honestly. You won't be condemned for everybody has had negative feelings towards other people, sometimes based on race. That's everyone, and we never talk. Maybe that's. I don't know if it's good to let that genie out of the bottle or not. I'm just talking to you, trying to come up with some ideas.
Yeah.
You know, I live in Fort Dodge. We live in Fort Dodge. We're not going to go up to Minneapolis or Chicago or someplace. We can only start here.
That's right. That's right. You know, and that's where the conversation starts. Is home. You know, and then it spreads abroad. But you have to be willing and open to those conversations. And what's going on in the world right now, you know, the incident that happened this morning, the other things that happened throughout the world or throughout the states here with George and a few others, it's just a very dark time, you know, and it's very easy and it's very convenient for folks to just jump to a conclusion and stick with it. You know?
Well, yeah, that's as far as I'm concerned, this again was a spark in Minneapolis. It was a brutal crime, and you know, I thought to myself, I talked about this on the air. You know, apparently this was in an African American neighborhood, because during the video there were people yelling at this officer to get off his neck, and he can't breathe. He's saying he can't breathe, and there's people taking video, and they sound like African American people. And I was thinking to myself while watching that video, if it was me, I'd just walk right up to that cop and take him right off George Floyd. You know, and I thought it through. You know, if I'd have done that, I'd have probably been arrested, but I wouldn't have hit the pavement. They wouldn't have done me like they did George Floyd, because I'm a white man. You know, but George, they felt it was all right to put him on his stomach with his hands behind his back and a knee on his neck. Mm-hmm. At least this one man did, and that's about as awful as I've seen. You know, our whole country shook up over it, really.
It is. It really is. You know, and unfortunately, one person can set the example for others, and the others are treated unfairly because of someone else's actions. And that's where the conversation has to open. You know, one person can't stand for all.
No,
you know?
No.
So, but for some folks, they look at one and they see everybody. You know,
yeah.
And that's where we have to stop. You know, and that's on all sides of the fences. You know, not just on one side. You know, one doesn't stand for all.
No, absolutely not. No, you know, that's why it always embarrasses me a little bit to call you in to speak for black people, like you can do that.
Oh no.
like I can speak for all white people. Hi there, I am the voice of whiteness. You know.
No, when I call in, you know, I call with my views on things, and I hope that sometimes that I can kind of speak for others, but I surely don't put words in other folks' mouths. But I do try to stay as close to it as I can.
Yeah. You know, are you the president of the local NAACP?
I am.
Okay. I sent my check into the NAACP months ago, but I guess I need another form because it was never cashed. The check was never cashed, and I never heard back from anybody. So I'll have to get another form from you somewhere and hand deliver the money to you, I guess.
No, well, Julia Naylor is our treasurer.
Julia is?
Yeah, and Jeremy Moore with the PD up here.
Okay.
Yeah, those two, they handle those, that side of it. So we will follow up. We'll follow up and see. I do know that we sent in all the applications. Everything was sent in. And they were processing things on their end, on the state. So I do know that COVID-19 kind of came in at the beginning of the year, and then they told us that they were pushing some things back, and they were going to get to everyone as quickly as they could. So that's kind of where we are, but we will follow up. I will ask both Jeremy and Julia to follow up and see see where you stand there, Mike.
Well, I'm not willing to let this whole thing go. I would, here we are, Little Fort Dodge, out in the middle of a cornfield, but we have to stop talking about learning to talk to each other and actually talk to each other.
Do it, yes. Action.
And I offer this radio station to any and all. If you'd like to have a meeting of the NAACP on air, I'm good with that. I'll open up the phone lines or whatever we need to do. But
Yeah.
I'm tired of looking across the room at each other.
Yes, yes. Yes, I agree, Mike. It's just a sad thing, for everyone, on both sides. And not that there should even be sides, just in all conversations. Things just seem to have a little grayness to them.
Yeah, I know.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of points of contention. As a veteran, I disagree with Colin Kaepernick and all those who kneeled during the playing of the national anthem. There's others who see that completely different. And some of them are African Americans, and some of them are fellow Caucasians.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I don't want to speak too much on that because I know everyone has their views, but I know Kaepernick, he was kind of leaning towards what's going on today. And I think others thought it was military. I don't know what it was because I wasn't there. I don't know. I can't say what his thoughts were. But I think his was more towards injustices.
It was, but he picked the wrong format, I think. Now there's a lot of people saying he never meant that. Yeah, he did.
His actions spoke louder than words.
Yes, that's right. He's not somebody who's in front of the cameras or a microphone a lot.
Yeah.
He does. Nike gave him a contract and those sort of thing, and he's not somebody who talks a lot. He lets these actions and symbolic moves take on a life of their own. Kaepernick's not stupid. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a smart man.
Yes, he is. And oddly, he's made more money, I think, as an activist than he did as a football player. So maybe he's even smarter than we think. I don't know. Anyway, Sherry, is there anything else that we can say here at this moment? I'm going to keep bugging people in our community to come on here and talk. Or if you don't want to come on here and talk, that's fine. But talk somewhere. Pull somebody aside that doesn't look anything like you and say, this is the way I see it. And I know we've known each other for a long time, but it's obvious that we see things differently, some important things very differently. And I want to know why you see those things so differently, because here's the reason I see these things this way. And they're very deep passions. And we got to get away from the superficial point and get down some causes and conditions anyway. I hope maybe that's another pipe dream I'm having here in Fort Dodge, but I would really like to see that happen.
Yeah, I think we all do. We're all in that dream with you there, Mike.
Sherry Washington has been our guest. Help me out with this now, Sherry.
Okay.
Is the Second Baptist Church allowing people into the building now, or what's going on?
No, we're in talks about how we're going to slowly reopen. So we're looking forward to that in the upcoming week.
Okay, good enough. Sherry Washington has been our guest. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
All right,
always good to talk to you.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 4:57, 88 degrees.
Want new flooring but don't have time to run all over the place looking for the right floor? Hi, this is Dean Sturmer with Jim's Carpet One. Let Jim's Carpet One Floor and Home bring the store to you with their free shop-at-home service. See the samples in the rooms where you want the new flooring. Get measurements and advice professionally done at the same time. It's fast, easy, made to order for your busy life. Plus, it's from the local pros who will be here after the sale. Call Jim's Carpet One Floor and Home across from Decker Truck Line.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor, brought to you by Riley Armstrong Plumbing and Heating. Plumbing emergencies don't usually happen during normal business hours, so Riley Armstrong is here for you 24/7. Call 955-2232. And the Fort Museum in Frontier Village, where history comes alive. Travel back in time and celebrate the heritage of Fort Dodge at the Fort Museum. Book your next special event at the Opera House, too. When severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Save big money and get 11% off everything now at Menards. Removing dirt, dust, and grime is easy with Works. The battery-powered Hydro Shot Power Cleaner is a portable solution for heavy-duty cleaning. It's lightweight and easy to handle. $105.91 after 11% off. Prices are good through Saturday, June 20th. Savings are mail and rebates. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Start saving with 11% off everything now at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
This is a last chance alert. It's happening. Publishers Clearinghouse is ready to award $5,000 a week for life in just days. Enter now at PCH.com and you could win $5,000 a week after week, for life. Don't miss this last chance to win $5,000 a week for life on June 30th. Enter at PCH.com before it's too late. That's PCH.com. Better hurry if you want the next big winner to be you. Enter now at PCH.com. Entries due 6/25. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited.
All right, great show today, if I do say so myself. Thank you for being a part of it. And thank you for listening, as always. Really, the credit for a great show today goes to my guests. That would be Sherry Washington, Jim Kirsten, Steve Peterson, Representative Ann Meyer. I want to thank them all. Great job, as always. David Fierig certainly keeping us apprised of what's happening with the city. We'll be back tomorrow. I hope to have Greg Horo of the Pork Producers with us at that time and find out what's happening in our area, which is so dependent in a lot of ways on pork production. Thank you so much, my friend, for listening. It's 5 o'clock. The news is next.
Hi, this is Gary Rima, the voice of the University of Northern Iowa Panthers, and this is the home for Panther Sports, the voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Executive action on reform. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. After weeks of protests spurred by the death of George Floyd while in police custody, President Trump signing an executive order that would remake policing.
Today I'm signing an executive order encouraging police departments nationwide to adopt the highest professional standards to serve their communities.
The measure calls for increased training about the use of force and strengthening a national database that tracks police misconduct. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says the measure doesn't go far enough.
Unfortunately, this executive order will not deliver comprehensive, meaningful change and accountability in our nation's police departments that Americans are demanding.
Adding one modest executive order will not make up for policies designed to roll back progress made in recent years. The Senate and the House are considering their own proposals on police reform.
A police reform bill up for debate in a House committee this week is considered a non-starter in the Republican-led Senate. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says,
"We're in the process of making a law, not just making a point."
McConnell says a Republican measure drafted by South Carolina Senator Tim Scott will do that. GOP leaders say the bill would eliminate chokeholds, require officers to intervene to stop unacceptable use of force, and increase the use of cameras. A proposal from House Democrats would also limit qualified immunity that protects police officers from many lawsuits, a provision the White House has said the president will not support. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The Justice Department has filed a lawsuit against former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton to block the publication of his book, claiming it contains classified information. Wall Street at the close, the Dow added 526 points, the NASDAQ plus 169. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now, when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so when you call 8338-ROCKET or visit us at rocketmortgage.com to start your refinance, you'll be well on your way to saving money every month. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.375%, APR 3.59%. Right now could be a great time for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 833-8-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. Pay 1.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
With your KVFD news update, I'm Rob Jones. 2 people are dead and 2 more injured after a shooting incident that occurred this morning in the Pleasant Valley area of Fort Dodge. The Fort Dodge Police Department was dispatched just before 5 a.m. this morning to the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest on reports of shots fired. Officers arrived and found a man who had been shot lying in the street unresponsive. The man was pronounced dead on the scene despite life-saving efforts. 2 women were shot in the incident as well. A short time after that, officers discovered a single vehicle accident at the intersection of South 15th Street and 6th Avenue South. Upon investigation, they discovered the man had been shot and lost consciousness while driving. He also was pronounced dead at the scene. Police believe he was shot on the 900 block of 10th Avenue Southwest. In total, 4 people were shot. A 25-year-old male and a 47-year-old male have passed away. The 21-year-old woman in the incident is said to be in stable condition, and the 30-year-old woman was treated and released. Names of those involved have not been released as of this time. Police are still investigating the incident and trying to determine the involvement the 4 victims had in the incident or if they were bystanders. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Fort Dodge Police. Fort Dodge Fire and Rescue released a statement Tuesday afternoon announcing that one of their firefighters has tested positive for COVID-19. The firefighter is currently at home under self-quarantine. The department has protocols in place to limit and prevent the spread of the virus between patients and fire personnel. The fire department says they are working with Webster County Public Health to identify people who may have been in contact with the affected fire department personnel. Those people will be contacted directly as part of the contact tracing process. Fort Dodge Fire Chief Steve Hergenreiter said, quote, Fort Dodge Fire Rescue personnel are community heroes and have been on the front lines every day. We take any potential exposure seriously and have been preparing for this time to come. Our department is committed to preventing the spread of COVID-19 and protecting the citizens we serve, end quote. Due to health privacy rights, the city is unable to provide any information on the firefighter who tested positive. Webster County Public Health also put out a statement Tuesday that the county now has 100 positive COVID-19 cases. 8 of those are children under the age of 18. 53 are 18 to 40 years old. 26 of those cases between 41 and 60. 12 between the ages of 61 and 80. And 1 person over the age of 80. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. Thank you for joining us. Open phones this hour. Anthony O'Neill, Ramsey personality, is my co-host today here on the air. Phone number here is 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Andrea starts off this hour in Colorado. Hey, Andrea, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you doing?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
Dave, I wanted to call today and ask you what kind of insurance or protection do you think that my family should carry if my husband were to continue to be in law enforcement after a bill passed increasing liability for officers and their families.
And we had a young officer call yesterday on the air from Colorado and told me about that bill, and he's quitting because of it. Very sad. I don't know. I mean, this would be one of the first times that something like this has happened in American history. In modern times, anyway. I don't know if Wyatt Earp had these issues, okay, but I'm talking about in modern times.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. My guess is that something like the Fraternal Order of Police or your police union will develop a market for an insurance company to write policies to cover. If I heard correctly yesterday, it's a $25,000 liability if misbehavior is proven, a civil liability, correct?
Yes, so it's up to $25,000 or 5%, depending on which one is less.
5% of your income.
And the way 5% of the lawsuit.
Oh, okay. Well, it'll be $25,000 then. Okay, because nobody's going to go after a police officer for less.
Yeah.
It's going to be. I mean, it's going to be $500,000 minimum, so that's easy. My guess is the industry, the law enforcement world, will come up with a group policy that he can buy into. So be watching for that. I'm sure the municipalities are working on the possibility of setting that up, and or the unions are working on a way to set that up to where either you guys buy it or they buy it for you, one of the two. Yeah, you're going to need to cover that because of the environment that we're in right now. He's going to be a target. Is the problem. In terms of the liability, I don't mean physical target. He may be that too, but I'm not trying to be melodramatic. I'm just saying that obviously when it's the environment allows the legislature politically to make a move like this, it puts your family at risk. It's sad, really. It's disgusting.
It seems like we live outside of Denver. Our department is not as big. Our town is not as big. And it seems like right now our department, specifically here that we know of, they're kind of scrambling to figure out what to do in response because a lot of officers are wanting to leave the department.
Sure.
And so they seem like they're kind of scrambling to know how to protect their officers. Should we carry some sort of umbrella policy until that happens?
There's not a policy. Out? This is a specific. It's like a errors and omissions policy. If in a professional setting, for instance, I have a real estate license, and the Real Estate Commission requires we buy an E&O policy. And so if, as a real estate agent in the state of Tennessee, if someone gets messed up or if there's a mistake on a home and I'm liable, that E&O policy covers it. And that's basically what this kind of a thing is going to be. But it doesn't exist. The policy doesn't exist today because the legislation, it's unprecedented. It's brand new, this idea that somehow this idea that this is going to be a deterrent for bad cops, which is, again, it's just my opinion, but I think it's asinine. Because I think it's going to drive all the good cops out of the business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
And so they're going to, that's just 2 calls I've had on this in 2 days. And both of them are telling me about people quitting the pop forces. And so, dumb butt legislature. But what do I know? I'm just an ignorant hillbilly, right? So anyway, I be frustrated with you and supportive of the people in law enforcement that do a good job and that aren't racist jerks. And that's most of them.
Yeah.
And there's a way to solve some of these issues, and this is not it. So anyway, in the meantime, you personally, I'm going to be talking to your force because I'd say your force is scrambling, and I do not know how to cover it in the interim until a policy of this type is formed. It is an errors and omission, a professional misconduct policy, or something in those areas, and there'll be a an insurance company that'll be willing to insure for some amount of premium that liability per officer, and they'll likely provide it to you guys in bulk. It would make sense to do it. And if I were in the insurance business, I'd be putting the product together like crazy this week.
Right.
Because I think there's a whole bunch of people in Colorado that would buy it. Yeah. Called every police officer, every sheriff, everybody in law enforcement in the whole stinking state would buy it. It's a a gold mine for an insurance company. So I think you're going to see a response in the market because there's just this sudden, nuanced, weird need that you guys have. It's a mess, Anthony.
It really is. David, this is my first time hearing about it. Is this only in Colorado?
Only in Colorado. Colorado passed it, and the governor signed it either yesterday or today, saying that if the essence of it, as I understand from two police officers, this wife of one and then another one, was that if a police officer misbehaves and there's a lawsuit, then they are, they're going to be hit with $25,000 in penalties. Now, obviously, we've had some officers misbehave over a lot of years. Right. But most thinking people's contention is that's not the majority of them.
I agree.
It's not like 50%. It's not 70%. It's not something like that. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and throw the baby out with the bathwater, in other words. But
that's rough.
Yeah. It puts it, because the guy yesterday's making $37,000 a year. And he's like, I keep a $37,000 a year job where people are pointing guns at me, and I'm liable for $25,000 if somebody just decides to get jacked up and sue me. He goes, I'm out of here. I'm going to go start another career. And that was yesterday. And she said, she didn't say her husband was quitting, but she said several people on the force, on their particular force, are leaving.
Let me be honest. If I'm making $37,000 a year, I'm quitting too, Dave.
And the environment.
Yeah.
It's you can't do nothing right.
You can't.
So it's a mess. And that's not to in any way condone people who misbehaved.
Right.
You and I have talked about that openly here on the air.
Yes, sir.
I don't know why it's inconsistent to say racism sucks, and bad cops suck, and good cops don't.
Yeah.
Why is that inconsistent?
Right.
Why can you not be all of that and still be logical?
Yeah.
This is the Dave Ramsey Show. There are over 40 million people filing for unemployment in the U.S. right now. 40 million! That includes a good portion of timeshare owners, no doubt. And what are the timeshare developers doing to help owners during this crisis? Sending emails to people with mortgages offering to refinance them if they buy more points. Are you kidding me? If you have a timeshare and you need out, call Timeshare Exit Team. They've exited over 21,000 people. Yes, it will take time. Yes, it will cost you money. But that's better than paying a lifetime of maintenance fees and special assessments for something you can't use. And when you hire Timeshare Exit Team before June 30th to exit you from your timeshare, they'll give you a huge savings for paying cash, check, or ACH auto draft. Call 844-999-EXIT or timeshareexitteam.com. Some exclusions apply. See the site for details.
Hey y'all, I'm Christy Wright. As a business coach, wife, and mom, I know that running a business can be overwhelming, but the good news is it doesn't have to be. That's why I created the Business Boutique Conference. This October, I'll be speaking alongside an incredible lineup of rock star speakers. We're going to give you everything you need to chase your version of success. You'll walk away with a plan for your business, actionable steps, and thousands of new friends to help you on your journey. Go to businessboutique.com and reserve your seats today.
Hey, folks, it's time to pay attention. Thanks to the $2 trillion stimulus package, your HSA dollars are more flexible than ever. Consider how much you spend on things like pain relievers and cough syrup. Now imagine paying for all that with pre-tax money. No payroll tax, no income tax. Do the math. It means serious savings. But you need an HSA to unlock those savings. Talk to your employer and head over to healthequity.com.
Radio Iowa, I'm Dar Danielson. Vice President Mike Pence says America's making what he calls a transition to greatness as the economy bounces back from the pandemic shutdowns. Pence spoke in Forest City early this afternoon.
Here and across America,
We slowed the spread. We flattened the curve. We saved lives. And that's why we're opening up America again. You did it.
Pence toured the Winnebago Industries facility in Forest City before his speech. Governor Kim Reynolds confirmed today she will issue an executive order that automatically restores felon voting rights. She says she recently told legislators of her plans.
We had an important election coming up, and we're working on the language to see what that looks like.
She says the executive order would likely mirror the constitutional amendment that's been discussed in the legislature. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley taking part in the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing today discussing the use of force by police. That's news on Radio Iowa. I'm Dar Danielson.
It's hard seeing my parents struggle living independently in these trying times.
Lifelong Links can help you help them.
I wish I could do more.
You can. If your loved one needs assistance, Lifelong Links from the Iowa Department on Aging can help you connect to available resources such as food, personal care, or just someone to talk with. Call 866-468-7887 to receive a supportive response to help navigate these uncertain times together.
866-468-7887.
Help Dad make time for what really matters with battery power made by Steel. Right now, save $40 when you buy select battery-powered tools with 2 batteries and a charger. Shop online at steelusa.com/gift guide. Pick up at over 9,000 local Steel dealers. Offer valid for a limited time at participating dealers while supplies last. Not available in all markets. See dealer for details.
Anthony O'Neill, my co-host this hour here on the Dave Ramsey Show. I'm your host, Dave Ramsey. Anthony, you have become one of the nation's leading experts on the student loan crisis. Yeah. The popular